Hey, Drew.
Yeah.
What do you call a Jedi with a water gun?
Oh, stop.
I don't know.
Ahsoka!
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one.
Boo.
That was a good one.
Don't boo me.
I like that one. I like that one.
I like how I knew I wasn't going to ask Andrew that because I knew he was probably going to get it.
No, I got it. I just
No, like,
had to pretend.
you had to pretend. Oh, okay.
I got it. I knew exactly where you were going the second you said water
Good
gun.
joke.
Water gun.
Yeah, I was
Ask
like,
the question.
oh no. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another Wizard episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew,
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
and we're talking about Ahsoka today.
We are.
If you
Ahsoka
couldn't
top
immediately tell from that joke,
or Drew's jersey thing he's wearing.
yeah, if you're watching the video version of the podcast episode on Twitch and or YouTube, check those out if you haven't already. Yeah, we're talking about the book Ahsoka, and this is Jeremiah. This is your third, technically, total
Yes.
Star Wars book that you read.
And the fourth one is in transit to my apartment as we speak.
Hey, guess what? Are you talking about Star Wars?
Would that come out today?
The Fallen,
Yeah.
dude.
Where have you
We
been?
talked about it last week.
I forgot it came out today. I was okay. In my defense, I was at Target and I was looking at the books and I did not see that.
Dude, I had a reminder set, and I made a
Dang, that cover looks fire. As
I made a
heck.
mobile order, and I went and picked it up. I also had to get toilet paper, so it worked out really well.
It's about.
So,
And what kind of toilet paper do you get?
Cottonelle.
Ooh, bougie.
You guys
Well,
actually know what
my
you
butt
get?
is important to me, so I want to treat it well.
Bidet.
I am very close to getting one of those.
It's worth it.
But yeah, everyone talking about bidets and Star Wars books today.
Dude, that
But-
I totally forgot that came out today. But I looked, Jeremiah, you might be onto something.
The Target doesn't carry Star Wars books anymore.
Not in Minnesota. Well, they had the third Thrawn book. But
yeah, I got this at Target. So, but yeah, everyone, The Fallen Star came out, the third and final installment in the High Republic Phase 1 trilogy thing that they're doing, whatever they call it.
except a new book comes out next month.
Yeah, but like I don't think that's part of I don't think it's like part of the main story. It's like a novel. It's like a full novel, not a young adult novel, but it's also like a side story.
Well, they announced Phase 2, which is before Phase 1, which David mentioned in Discord.
Wait, what? It's a prequel?
Yeah, so it's like 150 years before this story.
Really?
Yeah, that's what,
Is
that's what
Yoda
David
in
said.
it?
I haven't. Well, he's still like.
Well,
yeah.
I know he's still alive, but is he actually a character,
know.
or is he just?
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
Yoda in the
They
distance
announced it.
looked
They
out
just-
into
they
the
just-
sun.
Oh gosh,
We can feel Yoda here.
he hates Yoda
Okay,
so much.
come on.
No, I love Yoda.
No,
I
you
hate the
don't.
fact that they don't use him.
They don't need to use them.
I know they don't, but then don't mention him. We don't need to hear that he's in the distance.
I love how you were like, I hate that they don't use him like he's some like Yu-Gi-Oh card.
He's his own Jedi. Okay,
It's the
He
most
can do
powerful
whatever
card
he
of the deck, but they never use it. It's like freaking he
Yeah,
had all
for
5
real.
pieces of Exodia, and then freaking was it Weevil?
Can
Was
never
it Weevil
pull the
that did
left
it?
ring. Oh,
Huh?
I was gonna say you can never pull the left leg out of the deck.
No. But yeah, I can confirm. I've got an article up right now. Phase 2 will be a prequel set 150 years before Phase 1's events. So there we go. That's fun.
Yeah.
Except Phase 2's subtitle will be Quest of the Jedi, suggesting we can get more information on the illustrious history of in these new books in comics.
Ooh.
Okay. As for the
Any release date?
Nope.
Any like?
Nope.
spring 2023.
Oh wait, yeah, sorry. This is the last sentence, but it was they like hit return like 3 times, so it didn't look like it was part of the full article. Star Wars: The High Republic stories will continue in Phase 2 when Phase 2 begins in October 2022.
Okay.
So there we go.
Exciting.
You heard it here first.
Jeremiah can take a break reading after this one.
Possibly. I
Maybe.
was contemplating whether to get some of the other
Like Thrawn?
novels that like are of the same time period.
Oh.
And I was
I think you
considering
should.
the 2 Thrawn trilogies.
Oh, come on, dude. Get the Thrawn trilogies. You'll enjoy those. You will.
Dude,
I still haven't
if you get
finished.
The Thrawn trilogies, you could bring Andrew back for.
I still haven't finished the 3rd Thrawn book.
What?
Right.
Why? Because of
he had to
this?
read this book.
Yeah,
And he was playing KOTOR. Let's be real.
Okay,
He's
that's
been
true.
Playing
No,
KOTOR and
okay.
what's that new
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Roller Coaster
Yeah.
Tycoon?
So it was actually I was reading Thrawn, and then KOTOR came out, and then I started playing Roller Coaster Tycoon with my wife, and then I had to reread Ahsoka, which reminds me. So if you guys didn't remember last week, I had not even opened Ahsoka when we recorded last week for Book of Boba, and I was like, jokingly, I was like, yeah, this will give me a week to read the book, right? So I ended up reading it in 48 hours. So I started Sunday night. I started Sunday night before bed and finished it tonight, an hour and a half before we started recording.
All right.
We just live 2 very different lives.
I spent a lot of time reading before bed.
It took me a month to read this book
but here's why. So unexpectedly, I had to take the Grand Admiral to urgent care Thursday night.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
what happened? I'd love to hear it.
He had bladder stones, bladder crystals.
Tell the fans who the Grand Admiral is.
My cat Cheeto.
Okay.
For those of you in the Discord, if you've been there long enough, you know it's Grand Admiral Cheeto.
So he almost died over the weekend?
He was, yeah.
Whoa.
So Thursday night.
That would have ruined
dude, Thursday night, like out of nowhere, he started meowing a ton, way more than usual, going in his litter box, staying in the litter box for like 5 and 10 minutes at a time. It was super strange. Nothing in the litter box when he came out.
Just like trying, but nothing's coming out.
And then he came out and sat on Micaiah's legs and was like breathing extremely fast and was like kind of shaking and stuff. I was like, nah, we got to take him to urgent care. So I took him and they had to like go in and do surgery and pull him out, and he had to stay in the vet a few days. And then since then, we got him back Saturday. We got him back Saturday. And since then, we've had to do medicine, these 4 or 5 different medicines on a schedule.
4 or 5 different?
Oh, yeah. So one of them was a pill, and then the other 3, so there's 4. One of them is a pill. The other 3 are syringes that we have to like squirt in his mouth. And of course, like he hates that. And then one of them we have to give him at 4 a.m.
Oh, so, hell, I'm sorry. No.
So, dude, I actually thought of you, Drew, because I was like, this is like having a newborn baby, like the sleep schedule that we're on right now. So,
maybe it's preparing you for...
No, it's not preparing me for anything, Jeremiah.
If anything, it's make him never want to get.
Well, I actually said that to Micaiah. I was like, well, if anything, we don't want kids now. So I got to Sunday and I was like, oh shoot, like I had plans to like read this book kind of like leisurely over the weekend and into Monday and Tuesday. And I was like, oh, I got to read the book. And I was on the cusp of like, oh, just watch a video. It'll be fine. But then last week I was like, no, I want to read the book. I want to have the full context. So I literally read the first 11 chapters Sunday night. I was like, okay, this is good. This is really good. So if I can get at least 10 chapters done, if not like 11 or 12 done a night, I can read a little bit like during my lunch break and stuff and spread it out through the days. And then by the time we get to Tuesday night, I'll be done. And it worked. So I was cramming. It's an easy read, but I was cramming hard.
So while you were doing that over the weekend, me and Jeremiah were watching Cobra Kai.
Oh,
I watched it all on Saturday.
I watched all. Well, I watched half of it Saturday morning and then half of it Sunday morning. But let's just say,
Even though it was the weakest season for me, it's still in my top 5 favorite TV shows of all time.
yeah, as I was watching it, like the first couple episodes are kind of slow, and I was watching it. I was like, Jeremiah, if he says that he loves this season, I'm gonna be so pissed because there's no way this is worse than what we watched in Boba Fett. And then it got way better. I was like, okay, never mind, Jeremiah.
I'm just saying, like the choreography in the last 2 episodes was the
good.
best fight choreography that the show's ever had. So, anyway, this is a Star Wars podcast. Not
True, but
when Drew
Go
and I
watch
started
that.
our Cobra Kai podcast,
it's gonna recap of all the seasons. We'll break them
Yep.
every episode down over a course of a year.
yep.
Stay tuned. Maybe Andrew will watch it at some point.
No, he's not.
No.
I'd be there to maybe talk about the accuracy of the martial arts, but
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Maybe
And
not,
you
though.
just crap on it.
nah. I mean, I'm sure some of it's actually great. I just haven't seen it. So
I was kind of disappointed they didn't have a long one shot like they've had.
Yeah. I still think the best one shot was Daredevil season 2
Oh.
going down
I
the
don't know.
stairs.
dude,
I
Oh.
plan. I have not watched that show, but I plan on watching it because of spoiler alert. I can't say things, but
yeah,
because-
but
yeah,
like,
we know.
but like it as a show, it was 100% the best of all of like the Defender shows
right. that's
True.
what
by
I heard.
like a landslide.
That's what I heard.
I didn't even watch Iron Fist because I
I
saw
and I
like clips.
stopped.
Yeah, I saw clips and people were talking about it. I was like, no, I can't do
His
this.
acting's horrible.
But yeah, Daredevil was good. The one
I'm just
shots
saying, that one-
in the Rurouni Kenshin movies, those anime adaptations,
Oh yeah, they're pretty good.
phenomenal.
Yes.
So, anyways,
All right, one shot.
Star Wars
Well,
coming back.
Andrew one shotted this book, so
Yeah, I did. So it's fairly fresh, but also I read it so quickly that I didn't really have time to like fully digest a lot of it. So
were you like speed reading it, like reading?
I was trying to, yeah, I was trying to get it done. But yeah, so why don't we start? Let's just go ahead and dive in, and let's start like we normally do. Let's talk about our overall thoughts of this book. I would like Jeremiah to go first because it's Ahsoka.
It is Ahsoka.
And if you don't know, if you're listening to the podcast and you don't know, Ahsoka is Jeremiah's Star Wars crush.
True.
That is not true. She's
No,
my
I'm
favorite Star Wars
I'm
character.
joking.
I honestly though, I was really close to buying you a body pillow of Ahsoka.
That would
but-
be
Gosh.
disgusting,
Oh
and I would
gosh.
not. I would not have that in my apartment.
I almost
Would you
bought
put it
for
on your
for
balcony?
Christmas.
I would put it in my storage locker that I have in the laundry room.
You wouldn't put it in your balcony on the long chair and just have her sit there?
No, that's creepy.
That's so
Sorry.
freaking weird,
Don't
but really
do
funny.
that.
That's a
would be
good
funny.
YouTube video, Drew. if
That
you
would have
wanted
been a
to-
really good one.
But yeah, so before we start, I want to make known that this is a young adult novel.
Yes.
So this is not like.
So, young adult is considered what age? High
Uh,
school?
I'm glad you asked. I'll look.
14 up, I think.
Because
Something like that.
this was an easier read than the 2 High Republic books.
But that's
Is
because
that
the
not
High Republic books
No.
are full novels. They're like
Yeah,
mid-
they're not
yeah.
considered a young adult.
Okay.
Now the what's that writer's name? She wrote my
ages
favorite
between
book.
ages 12 and 18.
12.
Okay.
Wow. I thought it
12
was
and
like
18,
14,
young
15,
adults.
but-
All right. So, middle school, high school.
Yep. So this is what it was geared towards. So
Mhm.
for everyone who hasn't read the book, first of all, spoilers. We are going to go over a brief summary of it. We're going to talk about some stuff later. So you have been warned if you actually want to read it for yourself. But to frame the entire discussion we're about to have, it's a young adult novel, not like a full adult novel where people are supposed to like die gruesome deaths or have like serious emotional.
There are
internal
some gruesome
emotional-
deaths in this book.
There are, but
It's not detailed gross. It's just
yeah,
states
it's
what
not as
happens.
bad as it's definitely not as bad as like Death Troopers or any of the Star Wars Zombies book. Those are
yeah,
hardcore.
but that's But I would say it's not even as bad as like spoilers, like in the High Republic book, like that whole attack on that event was
Right.
so detailed.
Yeah,
and, like,
they
people
kept
flying and like
yeah. So I mean, to be fair, Star Wars has never been like super gory.
I think
The
Jeremiah
Bane novels definitely get that way.
the biggest thing to note when it says young adult is just means a smaller and easier read than
Well,
the average
right.
book. That's pretty much
Yeah.
really what it means.
Right.
It's with Star Wars, everything's pretty much PG anyway. So.
Yeah. So Jeremiah,
All right. So
give it your all.
this book came out in 2017.
Did it really?
It
Mhm.
did. And so
Huh.
at that point, Ahsoka was already established as my favorite Star Wars character. So when it came out, I actually put it on my wish list on Amazon for like before it ever came out. But I was like, I don't read books, so like, I'm not gonna buy it. But
So the body pillow it is.
no. So like I never read it, and so I've heard like obviously it's been 3-4 years since this came out or whatever, and so I've gotten some slight spoilers. So like I will say that this book, after reading it, was different than I expected it to be.
In a good or a bad way?
It was neutral. It just because I thought this book took place more closer to Rebels time.
Oh yeah. No.
Oh,
But this was 1 year after the
Yeah.
fall of the Republic,
Correct.
and
it's
so
closer to the last season of Clone Wars.
right, and
Yes.
so
Yeah.
'cause, like, I
Which by
knew
the way, we'll get to that. I would say let's
Yeah.
not go too in depth on that part yet. The whole retcon thing, we can talk about that later.
oh, there's that too, yeah.
Yeah. So just as
Um,
you're telling your overall thoughts, we'll
Right.
talk about that later.
And so, because I heard that there were flashbacks, so I thought the flashbacks would have been to the early parts of right after the fall of the Empire or of the Republic, so
Okay.
that she was kind of reminiscing about how far she's come, type of thing. I knew that it was something along the lines of her joining the the rebellion, and I knew like I forgot until I read about Bail in here, Organa, that once I read his name, like, oh yeah, I remember hearing that he's in it too.
Yeah.
And so like I had these and then even like the picture like on the cover, like she looks a lot older, like closer to Rebels.
Yeah.
So like I thought it was again more during that time, but so I kind of didn't know what to expect because I knew she was a mechanic type thing too, hiding. So that's kind of what I knew. I didn't know what to expect. So after reading the book, my overall thoughts are, it was okay.
Okay.
Like it wasn't like great, but it wasn't terrible. I enjoy knowing what her canon story was for that time period and how she joins rebellion. Like it's an interesting story. I just thought it was not a lot happened. It was kind of slower paced, and they spent a lot of time on that planet Rada, and so I don't know. Like I'm not disappointed. It's just it wasn't wow for me. Like I enjoyed the two High Republic books better than this one.
Okay.
So that's my overall thoughts.
Okay.
Yep.
Drew.
I mean, it's been a while since I've read this book. So I'm trying to like really just go back and kind of break down. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun read. I didn't see like a lot of it, like the whole retcon thing was kind of confusing at first, and then when I really just like took it back, it kind of didn't bother me that much. Like it's just like it almost felt like a different angle in a sense. Like it wasn't like it wasn't that bad. And I loved I love that I waited to read this though. Because if I would have read this when it came out, I don't think it would have had as much of visual effect when I read it as than like when I actually read it, because when I read it, it was way closer to me finishing season 7 of Clone Wars, and like So I knew exactly her mental state more detail when I went into reading this book, and I thought that kind of made the book feel more like alive to me because I kind of
Right.
felt like I was more into her mindset.
It's interesting, and I want to talk about this in a little bit, but it actually had the opposite effect on me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, but we can talk about that later. But
But
I was actually thinking about that as you and Jeremiah were both talking. So,
oh, I liked her mechanic persona. I thought it was pretty cool. Like that's what she ended up doing. Like it wasn't like she like tried to like work like fields or like find different like odd end jobs. Like she actually chose to do something that was like super manual labor, and she was really good at it to the point where everyone wanted her to work on their ships and stuff like that. And like at the end of the day, Ahsoka's still Ahsoka, and she wants to help everyone. And so like, and I thought they portrayed that very well to the point where like she left the planet and then she still had to go back, and like stuff like that, and the whole aftermath of Order 66. Like I love that story, and I think any adaptation of that story, I want more of it. Like I would love to see more. Like the Kenobi story, I think it's gonna be super dope because we're gonna feel more of that of like the Inquisitors and stuff like that, and we're gonna get more of that feel. And I'm pretty pumped for that. The thing for me though that this book kind of lacked was a big bad guy. I felt like it
yeah.
didn't really have
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Like the Inquisitor that's in it was not really the best Inquisitor. like you know what I mean? Like it just felt like she was just mostly just trying to feel where Anakin was and couldn't and stuff like that, and like feeling the Force and trying to hide that, but then at the same time like there was the biggest bad was just the Empire in general, and it was okay. But I feel like if we had like the Inquisitor more of like a upfront character, more aggressive, I feel like it would have made the story a little bit more intense. And I feel like Jeremiah would probably liked it a little bit more if that was the case.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I have a bit of a hot take.
Uh-oh.
There were
Jeremiah, here he
I hope
comes.
it's a good hot take, not a bad hot take.
Is
I
it
think
Jeremiah hot take or is
I
it
think
like
that there were parts of this that felt like filler, like a filler arc
mm,
to me.
I could see that.
I
The
I
whole planet thing was kind of
I mean,
Not the
I
whole
think
planet. Like
no,
look,
but like you even said Jeremiah, like I felt like they're too long, and I agree. Like it kind of were there for a while.
yeah. I mean, I think it was very, I looked down and David was like, this book is slow. And yeah, I mean, it was very slow, and that's why I wanted everyone to understand this is like a young adult novel right out of the gate,
right.
because I think that that's
Dang.
part of the reason why it didn't hit quite as hard as some of the other books we've read, especially some of the other books that I've read, um, that have much more depth and complexity to the stories and to the characters. But I will say this did a really good job of focusing on Ahsoka's development, so that's a good
Right.
takeaway. But I think that's really the only thing that's like,
But I think with the slower pace, like it has to be because she's trying not to get attention to herself.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
And
I
so
mean,
like
like
it
I
makes
said,
sense,
it's
but like
focusing on her development in hiding,
right.
and it makes sense. I was really disappointed that so they uh they introduced the guy. I don't even remember his name. He's really forgettable, but like the statistician guy who like
Yeah.
leads the empire to different planets and resources and gets paid for it, right? He's basically
Right.
he connects people. And like I was like, "Oh, this is going to be really interesting." And he was a throwaway character, you know? And then like the Inquisitor finally comes in, and I'm like, why are we getting the main bad guy in like chapter like 21 or 22 or something. Yeah,
it was like super
yeah.
close to the end.
Because like there's this feeling of impending doom the whole time. The Empire's coming and they're there, and all of a sudden
You're like on edge and then you realize
kind
you
of
almost forget that you're on an edge.
Yeah, and then it goes from
Like
0 to like, I wouldn't say 0
100.
to 100. It goes from like 0 to like 65 pretty quickly. But like, but then the fight, I was like sick. Like I know Ahsoka's a BA Jedi, and she doesn't have lightsabers, and we're gonna get to see her do some really cool Force stuff. And then like the fight was like 2 pages long, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
wow, that's. I
As I said,
actually read it, and then I went and reread it. I was like, wait, did I miss something?
is there a page in between that
Yeah. So I think for a younger reader, this would have been a great book.
Right.
And I also think, and this is kind of a segue into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. I think that this, when it was released, would have been a lot better of a read than it is now. And here's why.
Right.
One, we don't have Clone Wars Season 7. We don't have the storytelling and the weight of seeing that in film or in cinema, you know. The other thing is that by now, by January of 2022, the story of the Jedi on the run, close to the end of the Republic and during Order 66 and all that stuff, has been told quite a few different times in different ways. And I don't think that narrative was as fresh in 2017 as it was now.
Right.
Especially because we have a whole game that's dedicated to a character that's doing that same thing and fighting Inquisitors. And then we
That's true.
and we had Rebels, which touched on it quite a bit too. But like it was still fresh. It was like, oh, we haven't really encountered this narrative of, the Jedi in hiding as much. And I think it would have been a little bit more impactful to get that first hand account of like what she's feeling, why she can't use the Force, like, because there were times that I was reading this, I was like, oh yeah, she can't use the Force. She doesn't want to draw attention to herself. I get it. Oh no, if you use the Force, you're gonna draw attention to yourself. Oh no, you drew attention to yourself.
You read it too
it's
fast.
like,
That's why. You just read it too fast. You just read it too fast.
No, but it's like I know that story.
Yeah, that's fair.
I know that conflict now from a few different standpoints.
See, I'm not over that story. I love it.
Well, I'm not over the story at all. I'm just saying it's a very interesting story. I'm just saying I think it would have had more impact had all three
if
of
you
us
read it later.
If all three of us had read it in 2017 rather than
2022.
5 years later. So anyways, let's dive in. Let's just go ahead and dive in since we've covered all that and start with the beginning and address the elephant in the room, which is the retcon. The retcon that happened between this book and season 7 of the Clone Wars. So for those of you that don't know, if you haven't read this book, there are some flashbacks, and there's like 6 of them.
I think it was more than that, but
6 or 7. Well, the pages are gray, so like the regular like book pages are white, but then the flashback pages are darker, and it's kind of striped like a zebra almost. If you look inside the book,
I think it's like 7 or 8 because some of them are really short, so it's hard to see. But I think there's like 7.
It's 7, yeah. Anyways, so the very first one is the Siege of Mandalore. And so when this came out, this was very much by a few years pre Clone Wars season 7. And this was the first glimpse of really like the first glimpse of what happened to Ahsoka, like once after she left the Jedi Order in season 6. And there's some pretty big differences between the two, between what happened with the two of those stories. So first and foremost, there's no fight between Ahsoka and Maul.
No.
Which is really lame. So in the book, there is a Siege of Mandalore. Maul's there. Clones are fighting Maul's forces. That is similar. Ahsoka does show up to confront Maul. Also similar. But that's pretty much where the similarities end. Because instead of all of the beautiful like cinematography and the music and all the animation and everything that we got in season 7, she shows up. She taunts Maul, gets him nice and riled up and angry, gets him to attack her, and then drops a ray shield on him, and they capture him.
Yep.
So that's kind of it. Whereas obviously in Clone Wars Season 7, we have that just gorgeous fight scene, super climactic battle. And then Order 66 actually happens post that when they're back on the Republic cruiser with Maul in custody. Whereas Order 66, it's alluded to in the book that it happens on Mandalore. And you don't really get much more outside of that. You just know it happened and she's alive somehow. So it's a good example of how they have decided to retcon even within their own canon, because the visual media takes precedent over the written media, which is, I mean, it's the same thing. I think I mentioned this before, especially with like the Revenge of the Sith novelization, but like the novelists always get the script way before like the finished movie is ready, and so they have to go more based on the script than they do the finished product, and that's why their differences. Like if you go back, I've got the up in my bookcase, the Barnes and Noble like hardcover boot, like special edition original trilogy novelizations where it's got A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi in them. And like I remember before I really knew that they did that, I was reading A New Hope and I was like, why does it describe R2 with arms? Like R2 doesn't, but it was like the arms that like Chopper has almost, and like there were differences, like the entire scene where Luke goes to Anchorhead, like all that stuff is in there. But I remember reading it and being like super confused, like what? Why is all this? And then I realized that like it's based on the script and it's based on Ralph McQuarrie's artwork. Rather than the movie. So they do that with the books, and then obviously we have another
Well, that's
example
why
of that.
the Rise of Skywalker novel
Exactly.
made the movie better.
Yep.
Because it was better edited.
Yep. You can lose a lot with an edit. You can also gain a lot with an edit, and we know where that fell through. Anyways, but another example of this would be Kanan's Order 66 story, because in the canon Marvel comic, Kanan, I can't see the front of the cover, but it's like Kanan something Padawan. I don't know. But it's like Kanan, and there's like a subtitle. It's way more dramatic, and obviously it's because it's coming from his first person point of view rather than the Bad Batch's point of view. But yeah, this was interesting. I really am thankful that we got what we got in Clone Wars Season 7 because it's a much better story.
That's true.
So yeah, I think they needed to flesh that out for a TV show, because it would just been like maybe a 2-minute scene and then it would have been done, versus that beautiful thing that we got for the TV show. So that's kind of the smoking gun here, is that they retconned their own novel, because this is still considered canon. It's just not
the beginning.
It's just not canon. It's
everything's canon unless it contradicts TV or movies, and then the movies and TV get whatever the word is.
Yeah, so like how she got how she came up with the name Fulcrum, and like how she got involved with the rebellion and met Bail Organa and all that stuff. It's still canon, because we don't have anything in any sort of visual media that contradicts it. So anyways, let's just go ahead and dive in, since we just covered the beginning. It opens up, and this is going to be kind of a wide stroke, kind of 30,000 foot view. And obviously Jeremiah, Drew, there are things that you want to talk about, we can obviously talk about these things. But it opens up, she's on a planet called Thebeska, and she's assumed the identity Ashla.
Yes.
Which now means a few different things to us on this podcast. Because one, Jeremiah just dropped his pin. But two...
No, I broke the thing.
Oh, you're one of those people.
I was just messing with it. I didn't mean to.
Did it fly across your kitchen?
I don't know where it is right
Hey, all right. Just like Ahsoka didn't know where she's going to get her lightsaber crystals. So it's basically the same thing, right? If you close your eyes, does the little pin clip sing to you through the Force?
Okay, spoilers.
now.
Well,
Sounds
I mean,
like Ariel and
Oh.
Little Mermaid.
is that a Little Mermaid pin?
No, this is the pen that I got with my notebook, my Star Wars notebook, and
Oh.
it's a
Oh, you
janky
already
pen.
broke it?
Yep.
Anyways, so so she's assumed the name Ashla, which now, because of E with Andrew, talking about the Dawn of the Jedi, we know that one.
Okay, first of all, not because of
Okay,
you with Andrew.
that's one of the sources of information. Thank you. Did you know about that before E with Andrew?
Yeah, because it was
Ashla and
in
Bogan?
Rebels.
Oh
That's
yeah,
in
I guess that's
Rebels.
true. I guess that's true. He does
Gosh,
I
the
totally forgot.
the Bendu,
the
one in the
Bendu.
middle.
Yeah, that whole episode is like full of Easter eggs for the Dawn of the Jedi stuff. But so Ashla obviously is referred to. It's the old word for the light side of the Force. It predates the modern, the light side versus dark side type thing.
Yep.
And then Jeremiah, give us the other tidbit of information.
Ashla was supposed to be Ahsoka's original name in the Clone Wars, so which I wonder why they made that change.
I don't know, but I feel like if I got another female dog, I should name her Astra. That'd be cool.
That is cool. Yeah.
But Bogan is dark side, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
be
saying
cool
to have two
for
of Ahsoka's names.
Right. Oh yeah.
But
I think they did that because it would have been too confusing for people who had the experience of the EU,
right.
Well, and like clearly they probably stole the name from the EU if they were gonna use it.
Well, I mean, they stole the
obviously they got the name from.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they've taken from the EU. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, Thrawn being a large part of that,
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's under disguise, and she's posing as a mechanic, and she has a relationship. Talks about a relationship she has with the Farty clan. They're a powerful and wealthy local family involved in smuggling.
What?
Huh?
Let's keep going.
Okay. They're involved in smuggling operations, but they also have many legitimate businesses on the planet. They're kind of the main.
Did it mention if they're humans or were they a species of some sort?
No, they're human, and it did mention that they were darker skinned, I believe, and had longer black hair.
No, wait, I remember they said something. You couldn't tell the difference between them
because they all look so similar. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, was that because they're a species of some sort?
No, they're human. Because there's a scene when she goes back to Thabeska, whatever. When she goes back after being on Rada, which is funny because did you guys ever watch Chowder?
No.
Schnitzel, Rada. That's the only thing he says. That's how he communicates. It's like the I am Groot thing, but it was, anyways. It's really funny. If you haven't seen that show, it's really funny. Anyways, but when she goes back and she's talking to the little girl, the girl. She's like, we wish you were, because she was talking about how like, Ahsoka was talking about how she like stands out because she's a Togruta, and there's like not a ton of them at large in the Outer Rim, and she's like, yeah, we get away with a lot of stuff because we all look alike and because we're human and we blend in. And she was like, we wish you were human too. Like there's actually a part where they talk about that.
Okay, yeah, I kind of vaguely remember.
Well, and it makes sense because it was definitely easier for her to hide because they all look alike.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah, so she's with them, and it talks about her relationship with the many female children in that family. There's like a ton of them, and they're all like sisters and cousins and stuff, and they love her. But then Empire Day happens, which we've seen before, especially in Rebels. And at that point, it's the 1-year anniversary of the formation of the Empire. And she basically decides to leave because she's still on the run. She's still very conflicted about what happened with Order 66. She's still processing all of those emotions and stuff. And so she's like, you know what? I need to go to a place that doesn't have an Imperial presence where she can just kind of live the rest of her life in peace and, in secrecy. So she leaves. She decides to leave. She takes one of the Farty freighter ships, and she leaves, and she ends up on the moon of Rada. I don't really know how you pronounce that.
When I was reading, I just thought of it as Rada.
Rada. Yeah, that's what I did too. But there are two A's in the front of that word. So, anyways,
Tomato.
tomato. Uh, yeah. So she ends up on this moon. It's a remote farming moon, and that's pretty much it. There's like a super small community. It's perfect to kind of blend in. And because like the Empire's not looking, first of all, it's the Outer Rim, but then they mentioned in the book like this was like out in the Outer Rim, so it's like even more backwater, so to speak. And the Empire wouldn't care about that. So she goes there. She literally just finds a house, an abandoned house, and inhabits it because no one really cares. And then she meets one of the main characters that's going to play a pretty significant role named Caden Lart, a farmer girl who I believe she's 17 or 18 in this book.
Yeah, I think she's the same age as Ahsoka, essentially.
I thought Ahsoka was a little bit older than her.
She's 5 years younger than Anakin, and I believe he was 22 in Revenge of the Sith. So then he would be 23, she'd be 18.
Okay. Yeah, so they are about the same age, yeah. So she meets her and they start talking. She's like, "Hey, I'm a mechanic. I'm here to help fix things." And she ends up fixing Caden's thresher droid for the harvesting in exchange for some food. They strike up a relationship over that. And then slowly but surely, as she's kind of grafted into the community, we meet the other members of the farming community. We find out that Caden has a 14-year-old sister named Miara. There's also a Togruta barkeeper and owner of the local cantina, like the main cantina, which is very interesting. I kind of like that they put another Togruta in there because like we don't really get a lot of those in Star Wars lore. We're getting more, but like outside of the episode where they go back to her home planet and then the Togruta like Shaak Ti, but I mean, come on. She dies 14 times. Yeah. So she played way cooler of a role in the original Clone Wars than she did any of the other stuff. But so you meet the rest of the farmers, and they all have their kind of individual personalities, and they're all kind of explored on like a superficial level. There's like a Celestin woman and a bunch of humans, and you get more backstory for the planet in that everyone's a farmer or a merchant. They're all hardworking people. They grow crops and they export what they have, and that's how they kind of all make money. They have different crews that work the fields, and it's a very boring but very peaceful life for the most part for all of them. And then of course Ahsoka starts fixing things for people, and that's how she begins to meet the locals. So she gets grafted in, and while she's doing all this, she begins exploring the hills. So there's like pretty much just flat like farmland, and then outside of the settlement there's these hills that have these series of caves. She starts exploring those in case she needs a place to hide, in case she needs a place to retreat with other people. Like she's still got that military mentality where she's like basically thinking tactfully, or tactically about the whole situation. And while she's there, she senses the presence of the arrival of an Imperial Star Destroyer. And that's when the Empire shows up on Rada.
Well, to make note of that, so that was based on the guy you mentioned earlier about the statistician
Yeah.
guy, which that's
Jen,
probably
oh
like
yeah,
my
his
least,
name's Jenneth Pillar.
like that was probably my least favorite part in this book was that it was just kind of convenient that
Yeah.
he did the statistics of like, oh, this is the best place to do farming for what we want to do, and it just happened to be the planet that or the moon that she's on. Like it was just very convenient. It would have been better if she slipped up and used a force and
They just showed up or something.
and like somehow like she's out. Okay, no one saw that, but someone did, and then whispering happening, and then like it trickled away, and then weeks later, the Empire shows up because of the hint, and they kind of come as like not to like attack, but to say, oh, we're here to do farming and take over farming, but it's kind of like their cover up for we heard there's a Jedi here,
Yeah.
type of thing. They could have gone about that a little bit better, but
Yeah. I mean, again,
whatever.
this is kind of like this isn't
Young adult novel.
Yeah, this isn't an adult novel. I did miss that during this we get another flashback during all this that while this is happening, and it's a flashback where it talks. I want to go back and actually read it because this one was actually more. This was much more interesting. So it talks about how Ahsoka was forced to flee with Rex into hiding. So this is like it's very clear in the book that Rex does not obey Order 66.
Yeah,
which is very interesting because in Clone Wars he did. He resisted it, but like he got his chip removed. Whereas in this, it just didn't. I guess he got his chip removed way beforehand.
Yeah, and that's like something else that was kind of retcon as well. Like,
yeah,
it was like Rex is just too good of a person,
Yeah.
and it didn't work, kind of thing.
And there is that slight, like a somewhat contradiction in Rebels too, when he talks about I removed my chip, so I wouldn't, attack my Jedi.
yeah,
Like, it's implied that he didn't go through Order 66. Okay,
Yeah.
but like, it's kind of a contradiction, but you could argue it's not. It's just
but he didn't remove it. Ahsoka removed
but that's the point. It's like
well, it's kind of like
it was removed.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
the Darth Vader. Like I haven't felt that presence since, and then he like walks away. It's like it's like a gray area. You can go
like,
one
now
way.
we
you can
know
go the
that
other.
that sense is going to be in the Kenobi series,
Right,
Correct.
right.
So it's like,
Which we found out today that there's only 6 episodes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, there was an announcement that there's only 6 episodes.
which was I thought was
How long are they? Do we know?
Of course, we never know that. Why would we
Come
know
on.
What? What do you expect?
I
We've
wanted
never
like
known
I wanted
that.
at least 8.
I remember
Oh,
hearing
true,
that
yeah.
it was like 6 or 7.
Man,
I saw it today on Facebook or
Hey,
Instagram that it was.
They're gonna take extra care with this series.
I'm gonna tell you something. They better milk every freaking minute of it
Yeah.
because like this is the
If we get one 25-minute episode, I'm done.
Dude,
Oh, you're not done.
listen.
whatever.
Of
Stop.
all of
I'm
the Star
not
Wars
done.
projects, of all of the Star Wars projects, hands down, this is by far the one that I've been the most excited about this whole time. And
That's fair.
don't mess it up.
But is it Deborah Cho is the one that?
Yeah, I mean, I trust her.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's a beast.
So.
Yeah. So
But then again, I also
Speaking of,
trusted
do we now
Dave Filoni and Robert Rodriguez, or not Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez, and
the first episode of Boba Fett was amazing.
it was
Yeah,
good. It was good.
It was fun.
terrible.
I just
It's not
want.
terrible.
All I'm saying is every episode of Kenobi better freaking blow my
Okay. I don't know
socks
if you-
off.
Okay, so you know the thing with Peyton Oswalt who does like the
filibuster? Yeah.
So how he starts out is exactly the Boba Fett scene that we see in the show. Like you line it up with the show, it's exactly what he's describing.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, you can find those videos. Like,
That's
it's super funny.
hilarious. All right.
But anyway,
So yeah.
The Empire shows up.
Well, hold on. We did have the flashback. Rex doesn't do Order 66. They have to leave, and in the midst of the chaos, Maul escapes. And then they falsify their deaths by digging false graves. Ahsoka leaves her lightsabers on the false graves to sell
Which
the
they
deception.
did that.
And then the two agreed to split up and head to the Outer Rim. So they did that.
They did that.
They did that. It was much more of like a formal like thing in the book. It seemed like there was like an actual grave where
but in this one, didn't they remove their helmets and put them on? Like
no.
The show was it was.
Yeah, it was in the
actual
show.
graves.
Yeah.
They buried everyone.
Oh well, yeah. But like it seemed like hers.
It
and
seemed like it was like
Rex's,
a legit
like it seemed
ceremony.
more formal. Yeah, I mean it could have been different, but anyway, so we get that flashback. But yeah, the Imperial Star Destroyer shows up. We realize, or we come to find out, this guy Jenneth Pillar is just like he picked Rada, like we talked about, and he's like, "This is where you need to go to farm." And then the Empire shows up, and they start doing Empire things. There's a curfew, huh?
It was kind of funny when like oh, this is the best planet for farming, but I was reminded of there was the planet in the High Republic book that was all about farming.
Yeah,
and I was like, what's wrong with that planet?
A lot has changed, Jeremiah.
But is that planet even there?
Death Sticks comes into the neighborhood, and all of a sudden everything goes to pot. Sometimes literally.
I don't know anything about drug use, so sorry.
I don't either. I've never done a drug.
Well, you've done caffeine, which is the most.
Okay, well,
okay,
Mister, I don't drink coffee. You know what? This is a good opportunity.
Or any caffeine.
Let's use this opportunity to talk about one of our favorite drugs, Wesley Andrews coffee and tea.
True.
Asterisk, Empire Radio does not endorse the use of.
No. Don't do drugs. But if you're gonna drink coffee,
illegal.
If you're gonna do drugs, do.
If you're gonna do
caffeine.
For legal reasons, we do not endorse drugs at all. But
Correct.
we do enjoy.
But if you're doing drugs, do
coffee. And if you're gonna do coffee, if you're gonna do a coffee, do a Wesley Andrews coffee. And if you don't know who Wesley Andrews is, well, you should. So let's just take a quick listen to a word from that sponsor. Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code Empire Radio, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah, so I was going to tell you, Drew, coffee, if you're in a rush and you don't have time to make your amazing Wesley Andrews coffee, there's a Korean instant coffee mix that I got from H Mart. Dude, it's not bad. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me about that look. I haven't been able to get my hands on Wesley Andrews in a while.
Well, I can tell you're struggling.
Yeah.
But you know what? You can use that code.
I could. Yeah.
At checkout, and you could.
I could.
And my watch was trying to talk to me.
Oh.
It was trying to order Wesley Andrews.
Hey. All right. So, anyways, go check out Wesley Andrews. All right. So the Empire shows up. Start doing Empire things. Like, oh, there's a curfew. Better get in your houses by a certain time. We're going to shoot everybody. And there's a really unfortunate event that happens where the town drunk guy comes in. He's drunk and he's pissed off and he's like, I'm gonna stick it to the man. Well, it turns out the man is the Empire, and the Empire has guns, and they shoot him
Yeah.
Gets
right in the middle
heated.
of the bar. So anyways, they're at that point, they're like, okay, we've got to do something. And it's like the classic, like, let's build a rebellion. Rebellions are built on hope. Like that whole thing. And Ahsoka pretty much starts pulling people together and coordinating them and basically stockpiling resources in the system of the caves in the hills that she found. She begins fortifying those with help. And then they also use the crews that work in the fields, because the Imperials are watching them in the fields, but they're not able to monitor all of their conversations. So they're like, when you go out with your crews, that's when you can talk about this. We can coordinate everybody there. And so they start getting a plan together of how they can begin making strikes at the Empire without being overly obvious. Because what you don't want to do, which we'll find out in a little bit, is you don't want to just go blow something up. What you want to do is you want to be subtle. You want to make it look like it could be the environment or something malfunctioning or whatever. And that's the way you do things subtly until they're weak enough where you can actually pounce. So that they start doing stuff. They start getting stuff ready. But there's this one fool named Hoban, who is the brother of another character we meet, Nira, and he's hot-headed, and he's like, no, we need to go blow stuff up. Like we need to shoot him. We need to stick it to him real hard. And so he's like, hey, while we're doing Ahsoka's plan or Ashla's plan, we're gonna really do our plan, and we're gonna blow things up.
Which
And
means we're gonna ruin us Ashla's plan.
yeah, which is gonna ruin everything. So it culminates with the attack, her version of the attack, right? And that version is they made some corrosive charges, and they're going to go put it on the joints of the walkers that the Empire has on Rada, and it's supposed to corrode the joints so that they break down, and it's meant to look like the environment on the planet did it.
Right.
Great idea. Well, during that whole process, Ahsoka accidentally gets handed an actual bomb instead of the corrosive charge. And she's like, wait, what is this?
Oopsie.
Yeah, she's like, wait, what is this? And Miara, who's been making all of these, is like, oh, sorry, I gave you the wrong one. She's like, okay, when this is done, we're going to the cantina. It's like the come to the living, like when your mom was mad at you, come to the living room now. Like that's that thing, but it's like, go to the cantina. So go to the cantina, and there's people missing. And come to find out, it's all the people that were in league with Hoban, including this hot-headed girl, Kaden, the older sister of Miara, who's like, she's also like, we got to do something. And so they go freaking bomb the stormtrooper barracks. Like, what? And so luckily the Walker thing was delayed enough, and it spread the Empire thin enough that Ahsoka was able to pretty much save their butts.
Force pushed.
And that was where she used the Force for the first time in public, alerting the Empire that she was a Jedi or a former Jedi, and also alerting everyone else that was there present in the moment to her full potential, including Kaden, who now feels betrayed because she didn't tell her or do anything to help her originally in the first place with the Force abilities. Whatever. She's being a little crybaby. Kaden does have a crush on her, though. We find that out. So.
Does she?
Oh, yeah. She does.
I kind of.
She does.
I vaguely remember something, but I don't remember what
there
it
was
said.
there was a line, Jeremiah, when they were in the caves, where
I kind of remember something, but
there was a line where she was like, she made a note of Ahsoka's physique, and then it blatantly was like, and she liked it, and I was like, whoa, where did this come from? Like, you can tell, because like the villagers were like picking on her too, like, oh, you like her, like, is your new best friend, like, and they were kind of implying a little bit more, And then you
Yeah.
read that line and you're like, oh, okay,
She likes her.
she really likes her. And then of course at the end when she finally goes back to rescue her, she's like, I could kiss you right now. And
Oh, okay, that's what I remember there.
yeah, and she was like, I mean, not right now, but later. Ha ha ha. I guess I just wanted you to know, just in case we don't make it. So it wasn't
I
like
remember that.
it
I
wasn't
don't
like a
remember
confession, but it was a confession.
I don't remember the other part though.
It was just gonna be a celebration kiss.
You shut your dirty mouth.
Celebratory kiss.
So
I'm gonna
like
s-
it's Star Wars.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna
no
see
one
if I can.
kisses for
That's gonna take you forever.
real
to find.
reason.
No, it's not.
It's Star Wars. No one
I
kisses
have-
for a real reason.
I have things that, like, I have pages that are like corners turned or folded in
Ooh.
Oh, did you?
things, but not that scene though. But while
Do
you're trying to
tell.
find it, I can mention some of the things I have tabbed.
Okay, go ahead.
Ahsoka got Obi-Wan Kenobi's message that he sent. From the
She did.
Yes, that was
Which-
cool.
which was something that I didn't expect, which was interesting. And then also, I don't think I knew this before, but someone tried to kidnap Ahsoka before the Jedi got to her.
Yeah, they did. I didn't know that. I didn't know that before. Actually,
So I was trying to think because because it's mentioned twice, like early on in the book, and I was immediately thinking like, was this someone sent by Palpatine to get her, or something like that? But then later on, it says the second mention it's like something like a pirate or smuggler or something. Like it was less like it wasn't Palpatine, but I don't know. It was just interesting that if Palpatine tried to capture her before everything went down, like that would have been an interesting way. Because, fun fact, Ahsoka was brought into the Jedi Order a year before Anakin joined.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's Anakin senpai.
So
Yep.
like it's just interesting that goes to show how fast and powerful Anakin grew in the Force, that he was in there less than Ahsoka and was like way above her. But I think there's some other things too. I'm just trying to like, I don't know.
Oh man, I can't find it. But I remember. Oh, I found it. Okay. Ashla wasn't broad-shouldered like Nira or tall like Vartan, and she didn't have years of experience working in the fields to bolster her strength, but somehow she was clearly very strong, though she looked delicate. Maybe it was a Togruta thing. Kaden didn't know much about their physiology, but she liked it.
That didn't stick out to me as
Okay. All I'm saying is like it was very heavily implied up to that point too that there was feelings. And then you get that at the end.
Oh,
So anyways,
maybe you gotta be married to get that kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, so yeah, the thing about Ahsoka being almost enslaved at the beginning was really interesting. Which also explained her whole relationship with Master Plo.
Right, because he rescued her.
Correct.
Kind of.
And then also spent a lot of time with her as a youngling.
So I wonder, because there is one scene in Clone Wars where it's a flashback of Plo Koon finding her. So I'm wondering how that scene fits in with this narrative in the book. Because it seems like he goes to her and finds her, and then like that's it. There was no like rescue or anything. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that it says that her family or her people reached out to the Jedi. Like, hey, one of our people is Force sensitive, or at least we think she is. Which is interesting because I never really thought of it that way. I always just assumed that the Jedi could just sense in the Force a youngling.
Well, they could. I mean, there were Jedi seekers for that, but also I feel like now,
Jedi
especially,
captures.
I mean, they had the parents' consent. Some of the time, okay, it wasn't like they were just like, "We're taking your child." Okay. Anyways,
because there's that
Do
whole
we
thing
know
with
that?
there's a whole thing with Jar Jar and his girlfriend, like his girlfriend's people, like we're sick and tired of the Jedi taking their people, and they're like, no, screw you guys,
Yeah.
stay away from us forever. So it's
Oh.
like it was definitely they took it by force. No pun intended.
nice one.
Oh.
All right. So, anyways, so she saves Kaden and brings her back. She's like, "You were stupid. Don't do that ever again." Not really. But in the process, it's also worth noting that Hoban gets killed. So that plan really backfired on him because he was shot by a blaster.
Too soon, dude.
Sorry. Anyways, so yeah, and Kaden. Let's see. Kaden confronts Ahsoka about her secret. She gets mad following the attack. So this is when right after that word gets out about Ahsoka being a Force user.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kaden runs into town because she's mad and gets captured.
That's fun.
And gets tortured.
That's really fun.
And it's pretty brutal the way that they described it. They described her as being in a massive amount of pain, and then at one point she gets shocked by one of the things the interrogator says, and she falls over in her chair that she's strapped to, and lands on her arm and breaks her arm. So that's really unfortunate.
Yep.
But then Ahsoka rescues her using her Force powers, which is cool. And then Ahsoka ends up leaving because very quickly the whole focus of the entire like Imperial presence there becomes about her. And so Ahsoka decides to leave for a bit, and then she promises to return. So then we get a flashback after this, after she leaves, where it's basically like Anakin's inner monologue leading right up to where he gets Ahsoka as a Padawan on Christophsis in the movie. And that was one of the ones that I was just like, why? Like, why is that in here?
There's a couple of flashbacks that are weird.
Yeah. So I mean, it was
just filler.
Yeah, it was literally just filler. Like, there wasn't any point to that. So then we get one of our first interactions with Bail Organa. Spend a little bit of time with him. He gets wind of the reported Jedi activity, and it piques his interest, and he sets out to like track down who it is and where they're operating.
Which I like this part of the book. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like,
involved.
Yeah, it showed how smart and how resourceful he was, and I really liked that. I did.
Yeah, his death was kind of whack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he was on Alderaan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was. So was the other millions of deaths that happened simultaneously when that took place. Anyways, so we get some references to R2 because R2 is still in the possession of Bail Organa / Captain Antilles, who is the captain on the Tantive 4. We actually, I think we see him at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
Yes,
possibly.
Yeah. Um,
And we get little references to Leia, little
yeah.
1-year-old
Mhm.
Leia
Yeah, which was really
looking at
kind
the
of
fish tank.
I mean, I'd be doing the
crazy
same
to
thing.
think about. It's just crazy to think about that whole thing. When I was reading, I was like, oh wow.
Oh yeah, like Leia was actually a kid at one point.
No, just like the fact that they like mentioned it and like, yeah, was Ahsoka was there too, right?
What?
What?
Or no, he didn't bring. I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't think Ahsoka and her ever met that young.
That would have been cool.
Yeah,
No,
they
they
never
would have
met.
never met.
Yeah,
Yeah. No.
Which
so
they they could have met like eventually, the more she was involved. But I really like how the setup of the rebellion here is very a need and no basis.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like it's everyone's it's like pieces to a puzzle, but the puzzle pieces are spread around the galaxy. It's like only some people know some
And it's
people,
thin, like it's like people know, but it's like not the full story too.
because it's like it's so that the Empire can't connect dots. They can't put the pieces
Mhm.
together, which is interesting because like spoiler, like at the end, like the whole fulcrum thing is like she's kind of like a middle person, so that people on two sides don't ever have to meet each other, and she's just kind of this mysterious person in the middle.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was cool how he put that all together like that. Like he's the mastermind behind that.
I would be so bad in that position. I'd want to tell too many people, like, hey, we're going to do this thing. We're going to go blow up this thing.
Who's
You guys
that?
want? You
What's
guys want to
that?
come in?
Who's the chick from SNL? She's like the Target lady chick. She was Cheetah in Wonder
Oh,
Woman.
Chris, not is it Kristen Wiig?
Yeah, Kristen Wiig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So she has one of her bits that she does in SNL is someone tells her a secret, but she's just like, and she's just like freaking out the whole time, like trying not to say it, and like, I was
Every time anyone
picturing.
has a secret and they're like, "Yeah, I want to tell," I always think of New Girl when
Never seen it.
Never
Well,
seen it.
well, okay, you gotta, dude, Andrew, you gotta watch it with Micaiah. I think you guys would love it. It's so good. It's so funny.
If we don't, though,
I
I'll
feel
let you
like
know.
Andrew McCare more like Golden Girls, not
Oh,
New Girls.
I love. I
Did you
there's
cry when you found out the news?
no, no.
Dude,
I mean, it's sad. It was sad,
is it though?
but there were some
Is it sad?
there were
She's
some episodes that
99.
there were she lived a good life. I
Exactly.
mean,
Some people said that she was so close to her 100th birthday that if you take away all the leap days, she would have been 100 years old.
Oh, okay. That's
dang.
kind of sad. But they're still doing her party for her, so
Yeah,
that's
but
all
like it
good.
was also on New Year's Eve, last day,
Partying too hard.
the last day of the year. I
she,
also,
was, she was doing a keg stand, and that's when it went.
if anybody would do it, it would be her. But speaking of other shows along that line, Gilmore Girls.
No,
Dude, I have no shame as a good show.
Grey's Anatomy.
Never seen it.
Dawson's Creek.
No.
My wife watched that one.
Hey, it's all on HBO Max right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, what were we talking about?
Tanner Gilmore Girls slaps, dude. Gilmore Girls is so freaking good. And then
Yeah,
they did the Netflix continuation, and then did you see it?
I didn't watch it, but I didn't hear good things. Was it
I
good?
loved it. I
Oh,
loved it. And then
but
they
then
end,
they
bro.
just end it.
They ended it on a freaking bombshell. And then I don't think there's
And
any
I don't think it's
plans
coming back.
to.
But you know, the mom in Gilmore Girls is the main mom in the Mighty Ducks TV show on Disney Plus.
Oh, well, that's good. I still probably won't watch it, but that's good.
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah.
I don't actually. I'm not pushing you to watch it. You should watch New Girl though.
Okay.
Watch New Girl. It's funny.
Yep. Man, we're all over the place tonight, guys.
Watch Cobra Kai first, though.
Oh gosh. Probably
No.
No, you
Watch
think
New Girl first.
you think New Girl is better than Cobra Kai?
No, I just know that that's more.
Drew,
there's more opportunity
you're
for him to watch it.
spewing blasphemy in front of Jeremiah.
No, I think you should watch both. I just know
Oh.
what's most likely going to happen is maybe New Girl over Cobra Kai.
Anyway, what
So
were we
yeah.
talking about?
So we're talking about Bail Organa. R2D2
yeah.
makes an appearance. He talks about R2. And then this is the first mention we get of the sixth brother, who is, it's interesting. So we find out through some of Ahsoka's internal monologues that one of the farty girls, her name
Hadala or Hadala?
Hadala,
Hadala.
yeah, Hadala, she is actually force sensitive, and it was confirmed. And so
I really enjoyed her interaction with
yeah,
her. Like
Mhm.
like I really that was my favorite part of the book was when she went back and she wanted to know how she's doing, and because she's like what 3 years old or something,
she's a youngin.
Yeah,
and
she's
and how she's trying to like talk to her in a way that only a force sensitive person would understand.
Mhm.
And I really like the whole shadow thing,
Mhm.
that she sees shadows and like, okay, stay away from the shadows, like
Yeah.
they're not good. And like, but I really enjoyed when she was talking with her father and saying
Oh yeah,
something about I have to go read it again, but how like she's special, blah blah blah, and she's like, but there are no mechanics around here to train her properly.
oh no.
Or
Okay,
something
so the
like that.
father, so she's like, you need to keep an eye on her. She's special, and that could draw attention without really saying anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
But
father's like, is she a mechanic? Do you think she'll
Yeah.
grow up to be a mechanic? And it's kind of like a wink. And then
Yeah.
that's when Ahsoka's like, yeah, unfortunately, there's no one to teach her
no
anymore.
more. Yeah.
So
Like I really like that, and how, because like it even said like it was enough to like imply something, but not enough to confirm something.
yeah,
Like to confirm that she was a Jedi.
yeah,
So like I really like that whole thing with her. I really hope. This is like I heard it here first, but I hope this girl shows up in the Ahsoka series.
oh, that would be cool.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
Like I would really love that, for that
Or like we
connection
find
again.
out that like Ahsoka's like helping her. She goes back maybe and
Because
helps her out a little bit.
well, this would be, 25 plus years later,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
or 30 years later. So like this would be an adult woman who is,
mhm.
if somehow she was kind of trained herself in the ways of the Force in some way, like it would just be interesting to see that connection again. Like I really, really want that. Like I want more of this girl. And
yeah, that would be cool.
same with Kaden. Like I think
Oh yeah,
she would be cool, because if she kind of, it's implied that she was and her sisters joining the rebellion,
yeah,
and so it would be cool if, even if it was like, in the Ahsoka series, Ahsoka goes to, like, I have a contact over here in this whatever planet, and we just know it's an old friend, Kaden. Like they don't even have to say much. It's like, okay, people who've read the book know that this is
Like it doesn't matter, but
it
if
doesn't.
you read the book, you understand and
It's
you're
kind of
happy.
like
But like if you don't, it's like whatever.
kind of like Saw Gerrera in Rogue One. Like,
Yeah,
you don't need to know his backstory that he was from Clone Wars to like understand his
correct.
role in the movie.
yeah.
But it's just like an Easter egg. So
Well, for
like,
me, I watched Rogue One before I even watched watched the Clone Wars. So for me, I knew Saw Gerrera originally from Rogue One. So
but you would have heard like after the fact that he was in the show before you watched the show, or did you discover
yeah.
while watching the show that's the same character?
No, I think I think someone told me that he was like in the show,
Okay.
because this was before I like bit the bullet and like caught up on Clone Wars, because I think I kept, when I was like younger and was watching Clone Wars as came out, for some reason I kept getting a replay of the droid arc, and I kept not wanting to watch the show because I thought it was so bad. Like I feel like I've
Are you
seen
talking
the
about the
droid arc a
one-
million times.
The
one-
Liber Gaston.
Are you talking about with Gaston, or are you talking about the one
No,
where they're doing the fruit, going for the fruit?
The fruit one.
Oh
Oh, the fruit
no.
one.
Yeah, the
There's
fruit
one
one.
episode. How do you hit the same one over and
I
over
don't
again?
know, but when that came on and like when I was watching, I was like, I've seen this episode like more than once, and I remember why I never finished the show. And the first time I watched Clone Wars, it was in chronological order, not
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
the order that it came out in.
Yeah.
But yes, I really enjoyed all the stuff when she went back to the Thebeka. What was it called?
Tabasco.
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 Yep.
Yeah.
When
So
I really like everything that happened.
yeah. So before she goes back, it's interesting because the Inquisitor has already kind of caught on to Hidala, but because she senses, quote, a shadow looming over her, which was the shadow of the dark side, she doesn't use her powers at all. She just instinctively doesn't use them. And then he finds out, the sixth brother finds out about Ahsoka's presence on, excuse me, let me make sure I get this right for David in the chat, Ra'ada. Hopefully I got that right, because he's been going off about it for like 20 minutes.
Just spamming it the whole time.
Yeah. So he shifts his focus to Ahsoka and is like, freaking, this was boring anyways. And then the second he leaves, she senses the shadow's gone, and she like uses her powers again.
David said you still got it wrong.
Ray Ada? Is it Ray Ada?
Maybe.
Okay, well, that's fine. It doesn't matter.
Everyone
everyone produces things in, like, I've heard people in Star Wars pronounce the same planet differently before in the movies.
True, that's
So
fair. Accents go a long way. Are you guys making fun of
Ra'ada? Okay, well, why
Ra'ada.
didn't he type it with an AYE instead of an R? That doesn't make any sense. Ra'ada. That makes way more sense. Okay. Anyways,
So Rada. Okay.
so Rada, yeah. So anyways, so she ends up back on Tabasco, the planet, and she ends up back with the Farties for a little bit, and that's where all these interactions that we were just talking about take place. Also, while she's doing this, she becomes a pilot for them. While she's out doing short runs to other planets, she starts helping people, and then it's these strings of, like, quote, random acts of like heroism, kindness, yeah, that eventually start to get the interest of both the Inquisitor and Bail Organa.
Right.
Because it's
and someone else that we will run into too, but also the crime syndicate.
Oh yeah. Well,
Which
that's
one
also
was it?
the Black Sun, which is interesting because it's also because she was doing all this in their territory, and she disrupted a band of pirates that were working for the Black Sun. So, anyways, so she's on Farty. Not on Farty. She's with the Farties for a little bit, and then she's like, okay, I've talked to little girl Hidala, yeah. There's so many characters in this book, but I've talked to Hidala. They have this really sweet conversation, and then she has a conversation with the dad that we talked about, and then she leaves, and she goes to one of the moons of Tabasco, and she's like, that sounds like an actual place, the moons of Tabasco. It's like a sponsored thing in the Old Republic.
Star Wars universe.
Well, Tabasco, if you're listening, if you want to sponsor us,
hey,
we'll definitely.
We'll use your sauce.
Yep.
We'll do sound bites of us putting it on crackers, putting it on whatever. And
we can do a wing challenge with Tabasco sauce.
Yeah. So anyways, she goes to the moon and she's like, okay, I'm going to go clear my head for a few days. And then I'm going to go back to Ra'ada. However you want to pronounce it, everyone. She's going to go back. So while she's there, the Black Sun sends bounty hunters to approach her, and it doesn't go well. She ends up trying to run from them and shoot them out of the sky.
Well, the thing is, they want to hire her.
They do want to hire her, but she's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And then they were like, well, You can either work for us and pay back the debt that you owe for stealing from us, quote, stealing from us, or you can also just die, and that will be an acceptable payment. She's like, well, I'm not going to do either one of those things. And so they end up in a small dogfight, and then Ahsoka's about to be shot down. Another ship shows up, helps her out, and then locks her into a tractor beam. Come to find out, it's these two pilots that Bail Organa sent to try to make contact with her. He doesn't know who she is, but he knows she's a Jedi. But he didn't tell the two pilots that they would be in contact with the Jedi to save her identity, to keep all of that anonymity and secrecy going.
Right.
And so she just like whoops their tails the second she gets off their ship. She gets to the bridge because she wants to go and release the tractor beam so she can escape. She doesn't know they're good guys yet. She runs into R2. That was a really sweet moment.
That was pretty cool. That was like my favorite moments.
Yeah, and so R2 fills her in. He lets her know who Bail Organa is, and he's the contact that wants to meet her. And she's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go, but I'm gonna go of my own accord. I'm not going in this way, and
Right.
I want Bail Organa to know that I'm actually in this for real. If I end up going, so go ahead, wipe all the footage, do all that stuff, make it seem like I whooped them, and then I left. So that's what they do. Come to find out, R2 didn't wipe all of the footage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, was that on purpose or on accident? Because
I think it was on purpose on his part.
Really? 'Cause it was
He's a
very, like-
clever he's a clever
No,
guy.
it was on
because didn't it
purpose.
say it was just like the tip of?
Yeah. But like, think about it. To anyone
It
else,
made it implied, like, to me when I read it, it made it seem like it was on purpose.
yeah.
It's R2.
Well,
Come on.
R2 is ride or die. Like he's not gonna like.
But he's also, he knows that it's better for Ahsoka. You know
He
what I
doesn't
mean?
know.
Yes, he does.
He's a droid. What does he know?
More than you think. He wants Ahsoka to be a rebel. He wants
Possibly, but he would also listen to her and obey her commands.
I don't know
But he
though.
would
There were a
also
lot of
play-
times that R2 didn't obey,
But also R2 is also
What, didn't
gonna-
obey C-3PO? Okay.
and other people. He kind of did his own thing
But
for a
also,
while.
like, I mean, yeah, he tried to find Obi-Wan and he wasn't listening to Luke.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. He and Chopper could be related. That's all I'm saying.
They're
R2's his
distant
dad.
cousins.
Anyways,
Son.
so Bail Organa finds out it's Ahsoka, and then she meets up with him, and they have a really sweet moment where,
Well, they didn't just meet up.
she breaks into his office.
Well, this is crazy. Like, I didn't even know they did this in Star Wars. Like, because, like,
Well, tell the
she
story,
just-
Jeremiah.
she just hangs out, like, on an asteroid in a spacesuit and waits for the ship, and then just Mary Poppins her way through space. like Leia Organa,
Like Leia.
like in Last Jedi. Like maybe that's how she.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
the
so.
real original origin.
What
from
if
it.
what if between 6 and 7 she meets Ahsoka and Ahsoka teaches
gosh.
her how to
Teach her
float
how
through
to
space,
fly? You can fly. You can fly. You can fly.
or cutting or clipping
Yeah,
that.
Jeremiah,
Right
you need to clip that for later.
there. All right,
That's the
but-
new "they fly now" joke.
But yeah, I thought that was super crazy that she just was in a bodysuit and like broke in that way, and was just sitting in his chair in his office, and then classic turn the light on and like
Hello there.
hello there. That would be funny if she said that.
Oh,
Did
she
say
should
that?
have.
That would have been dope.
She should have,
No.
yeah. So they start talking, and obviously they're talking about Bail's trying to get her to join the rebellion, and she's like, "I'll help you. There's something out there that is targeting Force-sensitive children and trying to take them, and I don't know what it is, but if you help me figure out what it is, I will help your rebellion. I'll like you. I'm in." But she was like, "I also need help basically freeing the people back on Rada, whatever you want to
Rada.
say." I need to help those people. I need to go back. And first, I need to do something on my own first. And so she sets out. I thought this was very interesting. So during the whole book, she's collecting trinkets and stuff, some
What?
of which she doesn't really know why. It's kind of like this subconscious thing, but then
What?
she can begin seeing them form together in her mind.
So I was gonna ask you about this.
Yeah.
How quickly did you realize that these were going to be lightsaber parts?
Oh, super quickly. Like the first time they mention them.
Well, yeah, but the first time you mentioned them, you don't even. It's not implied. It just said that she had a leftover part from that first machine that she.
I remember the
fixed.
first time, like, it mentioned that she had been collecting them and she like didn't fully know why. I was like,
But well, it was for me. It was just the second time. So like the first one, I was like, okay, there's an extra part. Like she's supposed to be a good mechanic, but like she missed a part. I was like, okay, whatever. It's just weird. And then like the second time, like she said it just said like she threw a couple extra parts or something in a bag or off to the side.
Yeah.
And that was when I was like,
yeah.
okay, these are end up going to be a
Her new
lightsaber.
saber.
Yeah. So she sets out, she builds what she can of the hilts, and it's implied that they're functional. They don't look great, but they're functional. They're supposed to work to at least hold a crystal, at least. But she's like, I need a crystal.
But it was weird because it said that she never built a saber unsupervised.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed to imply that she didn't know how to make a saber on her own. But like, I feel like that should be like
No. It she did, but
It's
she
just
had never had anyone there to like help her if she made a wrong move.
well, but that's my point. Like you would think that she would have known at that point how to do it every time properly.
I mean, she did technically.
But she didn't though. She was like it was more like this is my best guess.
Well,
Like
and it worked.
She wasn't confident at all. But like I feel like at her level of training and stuff, it would have been like second nature to
I mean,
know
to be
how
fair,
to.
though, her training got interrupted by the war.
Yeah, but also to Jeremiah's point,
Yeah,
though,
but
she was like, she was at that arc in the Clone Wars when she took the younglings to build
yeah,
their
like she
lightsaber
helped like train them on how to do it,
with Yoda.
and she's built two of her own like on separate occasions. I don't know. It just seems like at her age and
She should know
ability,
better.
she should know how to do.
But maybe it's because she disconnected herself from the
Oh,
Force.
whatever.
I don't think so.
That's not how
She
the Force
wasn't
works.
disconnected. Yeah, she wasn't disconnected from the Force, anyways.
That's true. She wasn't.
But anyways, so she goes out in search of a crystal, and she actually goes back to Ilum, which was really interesting to see because she shows up and they're two Star Destroyers and like a mining ship, and they're like stripping large portions of Ilum's like crust. It seems like off the planet in trying to get the kyber crystals.
But also because it's Starkiller base.
Yeah, but was it originally supposed to be that?
Yeah, because in Jedi Fallen Order, 5 years after the fall of the Republic, it's already in that shape. Like it's already
Yeah,
clearly.
they
Okay,
started,
why
like-
in the heck did Palpatine pursue the Death Star then?
It's
I think because it was Star Killer Base was never like functional yet.
it was obviously it's harder to build a machine within
Well,
the
true,
confines
but
of a planet than just
freaking
a
Palpatine,
machine.
man, you're better than this. You're smarter than this.
I mean, but
You're the TIE
if
Defender program.
he should have just done the TIE Defender program.
Gosh.
I'm rereading like the third book of the Thrawn novel.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my lord.
Yeah.
You done mess up AA wrong.
Dude, I'm telling you, if they had done the TIE Defender program, there is
And
a
what's his name in the book?
Director Krennic.
Krennic. Oh my gosh, you hate him so much.
Oh yeah, he's a
You hate him so much.
He's a
You're supposed to
freaking
hate all these people
dork.
because they're all the Empire, but you really hate Krennic. Like you just hate him,
Dude.
like so much.
I swear, if they had gone TIE Defender,
and his one partner, whatever that guy's name is.
yeah. So, anyway, so she goes to Ilum. They're stripping it for kyber crystals and stuff, making Starkiller Base. And she's like, okay, well, I'm not going to get a crystal there, so I've got to find my crystals. And I thought it was interesting. There is one of the flashbacks where it talks about the crystals, specifically how they look like normal everyday crystals or like ice until they one reveals itself to the Jedi, and then it changes color or form.
Right. We still get that in the Clone Wars. It's kind of
like
similar.
It's implied, but I don't know if I'd ever heard it explained that explicitly.
But also in the Clone Wars too, like they're different. Like every time we see like the cave with all the crystals, the kyber crystal, they're all different colors. Like they're not just like see-through crystals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
it was just a very interesting take on it, because she was also like, the people who are mining these crystals aren't going to be able to see them for what they actually are. Like specifically, she mentions that, and I thought that was really interesting. So, anyways, so she's listening through the Force.
it's almost like these kyber crystals are like undercover, like not undercover
Kyber crystals, dude. That is
but like
that is a
they
freaking
just
song
look
name.
like nothing. That's true,
dude. Tanner, if you're still watching,
write it.
What?
He's still here.
Death Star's travel Starkiller on his galactic range.
They're talking about how Starkiller's range, and that's why.
Oh, well, it didn't have a problem destroying the Republic at the time, so
true.
Anyways, but Tanner, if you want to write a fusion song called Undercover Kyber Crystals, there you go. There's your name. All right. So she goes into the Force, and she is looking for the song of kyber crystals for her hilts, and come to find out, it leads her right back to good old Rada, or Raeda.
Kind of convenient, but okay.
It's convenient, but it's fine. So she goes back. She's like, okay, I'm gonna go back.
She's called there multiple times.
Yeah. So she goes back, and this is where things kind of jump from like 0 to 65 and a half. Right?
Yep.
I want to make sure I get the order of events straight. Because
I feel like, wasn't the attack on the tunnels before she?
Yeah, it was.
Gets her crystals.
Yeah, it was.
Or goes to Ilum, I should say.
Yeah. So that's what I was looking for. So Bail Organa tells her that there was an attack on the hills, the encampment in the hills. So after the attacks on the Imperial, like the barracks and the walkers, everyone that was involved ran and hid in the hills, and they had been hiding there when Ahsoka left and ever since, because they didn't want to get captured by the Empire. So then the Inquisitor goes to Raeda in search of Ahsoka, and he's like, well, she's not here, but he did some digging. He found out about Kaden, and he's like, but I'm going to get her back here using the age-old trick of like, I'm using your friend as bait. So he goes out to the hills and pretty much kills everyone. I mean, he does. He kills everyone because they try to ambush him. I guess it's easy for us to say, because like, you just see a lightsaber and you're like, yeah, I should probably not fire my blaster at that, But like, I guess they don't get that, And so they try to fire, and like, so many people get blaster bolts deflected into them. There's a Rhodian kid who gets force choked for a while and then cut in half right in front of Kaden. It's kind of messed up. And then he takes Kaden prisoner a second time, and intentionally gets captured on camera with her to be used as bait, so that the image gets sent out, and he knows Bail Organa and the right people essentially would catch wind of that. And so that's one of the catalysts to get Ahsoka to move and to come back to the planet. So she comes back, and she meets up. One of the first things she does is she meets up with Miara, the Caden's younger sister, who had stayed back in the hills. She was stunned. Also kind of convenient, but she was stunned and was like,
it wasn't convenient though.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, like,
Because she was the last person to come out of the caves, but the person in front of her saw what was going on, turned around and stunned her to save her life so she wouldn't keep going, and then he got killed.
No. That's not
Yeah.
that's not why it happened. So she was arguing with Caden because she was like, "We're not getting split up anymore. I'm going out with you. I'm gonna go with you." And Caden was like, "No, you can't go." And she was like, "I don't think you understand. Like, I'm going with you." And Nira, the girl who lost her brother, set the blaster to stun and stunned her so that there wouldn't be any more arguing about it, and that she would stay in the cave and be safe. Yes, I read it today. That was part of the book that I read today.
For some reason, I read it as the person like knew like, oh crap, we're gonna die. I'm gonna save her. Because wasn't the arguing? I don't remember that then.
Let me see if I can find it.
I was like, oh cool, that's a heroic way to save someone, like sacrifice your life in a sense to stop it. But
yeah, they kind of gloss over it, but yeah, it was she was
David
stunned.
in the chat says, "I just remember someone getting cut in half."
Yeah, it was the Rhodian. But yeah, Nira stunned her so that she wouldn't fight it anymore and she wouldn't have to go out. And that was literally the way that they saved her. It was like they saved her life by accident, almost. And by this point, it's worth noting that the Empire was planting a crop that literally had one harvest yield, and it would destroy the ground once it was done. And it was a plant that was to be used in like a nutrient supplement to give Imperial soldiers. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't anything even that super special. It was just like
No,
they needed
and
a place
it
to
would
farm.
poison their entire planet so that they could never survive after that
Right.
crop.
Yeah.
And they only wanted them. The Empire weren't they? The Empire was saying like they only wanted them to do like one crop and then they'll leave.
They could only do one crop.
No, but wasn't that what like
they were like, yeah, we'll leave
saying?
after, but like essentially they were leaving them to their deaths.
Yeah, they're like, yeah,
because they would starve after that.
We're gonna kill you anyways.
Yeah. So, Ahsoka and Miara are sitting there around a campfire, and she's like, "Hey, Miara, I need you to watch my back. I'm gonna meditate some." She meditates, clears her head. She knows what she needs to do, and then, she sends. So then she decides to act. She sends Miara to Selda, the Togruta Cantina owner, with a message, and then she herself goes in to face the Inquisitor and get Caden back. Now, this is where I thought we were going to get a super, super epic fight, because she's going in, and like the book's even like, yeah, Ahsoka pretty much, threw caution to the wind and didn't even try to hide herself going into the town, because like it was supposed to be a trap anyways. So then she meets up with the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor starts talking to her from some hidden place on top of a building. She locates him with the Force, and he drops down, ignites his lightsaber, and it seems like he swung at her like maybe 5 to 10 times total. She used the Force to dodge them all, or to subtly like off balance him and stuff, which it's very characteristic of her in the way she fights, very resourceful. But then she essentially just grabs so he's got an Inquisitor lightsaber and it's spinning, and she just goes in at the right moment.
Good trick.
It is a good trick. Not good enough in this sense. And she touches the middle hilt part of his lightsaber and uses the Force and apparently overloads the lightsaber,
Blows it up.
and it blows up in his face. Like literally blows up in his face and kills him. That's it.
God.
So the question then I have is what she did in this moment a less refined version of what she did to the Inquisitor in Rebels when it just turns the blade off?
Could be. Maybe less focused. Obviously more destructive.
I think she was mad.
Well, I think it was more focused the second time around.
Yeah.
Because she's able to control the mechanics of the. I don't know if it was the mechanics of the saber that turns it off, or if she's able to somehow stop the kyber crystal from using it, doing its thing.
Yeah. It was very, it happened so quick. It was like swing, 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 dodge, dodge, dodge. Oh, grab the lightsaber, you're done. Boom, blows up in his face. And then it's interesting, because she puts the crystals. She needs a few more parts. She realizes that the Inquisitor's the lightsaber has some of the parts she needs. She literally puts them together like right then and there, right after the fight, and then the blades are white, like they just appear white. And I find that very interesting because in the Vader comics, it takes so much effort in the dark side of the Force to bleed a crystal and turn it red. I found it really hard to believe that she just put them in her lightsaber and they're just white.
Right, because I heard that was one of the other things I heard was that she was able to change the color of the crystal or the blade or whatever. So I thought there was going to be a scene where she did something where she was like meditating with
Right.
with
That's what
crystals.
that's what I'm saying, because in the Darth Vader comic, so one of the first things Palpatine does is he's like, you have to go find a crystal, and it can't be from one of the thousands of dead Jedi. Like, you have to go kill a Jedi and force that Jedi's lightsaber crystal into your will, under the dark side of the Force. And so he does that, and there's a scene where like he goes to bleed the crystal, and there's so much light side energy in the crystal, he hallucinates. And spoiler for the Darth Vader comic, if you haven't read it, it's amazing if you haven't read it, but he hallucinates and literally turns back to the light side of the Force, goes and kills Palpatine, finds Obi-Wan, and goes to apologize to him. Like, this whole scenario plays out, and it's literally the crystal acting in defense to Vader's power. And then he snaps out of it, and he's like, "No, I'm not going to let you win." And he actually bleeds the crystal. But it's like, there's so much that goes into actually bleeding a crystal to turn it red. It's like,
but maybe
does it say
because
who the Jedi was
that he got his crystal from?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, who? Like, do we know who it is?
No, it's a new Jedi that we hadn't heard of before. He takes what's called a Barosh vow, and it's a like an honorable form of exile that he takes until the conditions of his vow are up. And he was like a combat master, like he was like a master swordsman, super ripped, like kind of like Ram Koda on steroids, huh?
Order 66 happened. He was already out by himself.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he didn't get killed, was because he was never involved in the Clone Wars. He was exiled that entire time. So, but it's
found in the archives that this guy's living on this planet somewhere, and is that how they find him?
That's how Darth Vader finds him. Yeah. But it was interesting because, like, I just thought it was too easy. Like, she just picks him up, puts him in,
but
they're white.
What if, because those crystals were bled like that, once they hit good again, they kind of snapped out of it?
Maybe.
Like the same way that
it's
Vader snapped.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot to make something bad, but when they feel the good again, it automatically switches back.
It was
goes
interesting.
Back to its form.
It was interesting to me, though, the whole time that these crystals were calling out to her, and it made me really wonder if they were her previous lightsaber crystals. Because, like, I could see it both ways. I could see the kyber crystal because there is a level of sentience, like a weird level of sentience that they carry in the Force, you know? I could see it being very unpleasant for them to be bled and them reaching out to be saved and to be made pure again. But also, like, it's really interesting to me that she had such a deep connection with those two crystals,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
Was
and
there?
it also shows you how, like, even if it's not that way, it shows you how much the Inquisitor wasn't connected to his
I mean, that
lightsaber.
is true. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it just
Because
shows
it's
you
just
that
a
he was
tool.
using this as a tool, not as something like an extension of him.
Yeah.
And what David said in the chat was pretty cool, Andrew.
Let
He
me
was
go look at
saying,
it.
pretty much saying that, like, Ahsoka's a pure heart, and when they want to be released of,
That's true.
like, their evil, and because Ahsoka's a pure heart, it was easier than trying to make something evil like Vader was doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So, I mean, she did leave her lightsabers on her grave. It's possible,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
but
they
it's
could have.
never
I mean, we
explicitly
did
stated.
see. I guess we don't know when Vader went and went
I
to that
well,
site.
for me, I think when Vader goes and finds her sabers, it's post his fight with her on Malachor.
Yeah, which
That's
a lot
just
of people
me.
do think like that.
But I'm trying to think because originally her sabers were green, right?
Yep.
Like two different shades of green.
Yep.
So are those then? Did Anakin put different crystals in those sabers,
That's a
or is
question
it
I've
because
always asked.
he built them? Because like when you build it and you put the crystal in, the builder's color is there.
It's possible. I do know, here's the thing. I do know in this book on Mandalore, her crystals were still green because it mentions that.
Okay.
But I think
So
it's
in
retcon though.
yeah, well, that's true. I was going to say in the book's timeline, it would have been possible for them to be the same two green crystals. The Inquisitor gets them, you know, because they rounded up all the lightsabers. Palpatine destroyed most of them, you
Yeah,
know.
but like Jeremiah said, like that time when Vader gets there is kind of interesting.
Yeah, but then this book was written before that ever happened.
Yeah,
So like
which I guess it did. I guess
I
that did retcon her leaving, you know, her lightsabers there specifically. But
Yeah,
it's so weird because like parts of the story.
no, didn't it say that she did leave her lightsabers there?
No, she did.
yeah,
Yeah.
both the show and the book say
Yeah,
she left
yeah,
it at the crash site.
yeah. It's just really strange because like the show has retconned parts of the book, but explains why she has white lightsaber blades, which have obviously stayed canon, you know,
Yeah.
through the Mandalorian. So
Part of me wants to say that if these were the same crystals, the book would have mentioned that.
that's true. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Like,
I think I don't think they're the same crystals. I think they're crystals that were crying out for help
yeah.
because they were being used for a way that they
I
weren't
mean, I
meant
would.
to be used. And so they're crying out for help, and Ahsoka was the only person that was able to cure it.
Andrew, was
That's
there
my take.
something in one of your EU episodes about sentient crystals or something?
Synthetic crystals.
I thought there was one where like
Yeah. There were
California saber, yeah.
no, not California saber. There was a race of sentient crystals that had a connection to the Force.
right.
Not kyber crystal, but
Oh, they're just crystals, not kyber crystals.
yeah, I think
okay.
I can't remember if they had been used in a lightsaber before or not, but anyways. So yeah, I just thought it was really interesting and quick, but it was just, but like the whole experience was quick. It was like, fight's done, gets the crystals, all of a sudden they're white, boom. Then she goes she goes and saves Caden. Even that's kind of relatively like they talk about how like she scaled the wall to the compound in one leap, and then got to the door super, super fast and then just released all the prisoners and she found her.
That was weird how she didn't have to fight. Because she goes in and rescues Caden.
Yeah.
But, like, she doesn't have to fight any troopers after that.
Well,
'Cause,
yeah,
like, it
because
seems like...
she dispatched most of them going in.
Well, yeah, but it just said, like, she just force pushed them. Like, she never, like, attacked anyone. But,
Yeah,
like...
I mean, but how many times have we seen someone be force pushed and it just, quote, knocks them out?
Well, right, but I'm just saying...
You know?
Yeah,
where
they're
she
like
went
drop
straight to the building where the prisoners were held. Like, not all the troopers were in that one straight line that she ran. I feel like it would have been throughout the whole compound. And then... I don't know.
I mean, it does say that during the fight with the Inquisitor, a lot of the stormtroopers had gathered around the fight to support the Inquisitor if he needed it, and then she led the fight away from them. So a lot of the stormtroopers were still not at the compound when she went through. Granted, I don't know how long it took her to build her sabers, but
Well,
you know, it's a young
also,
adult novel.
She
How
did that whole
many-
thing with the tanks, too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she did.
she
She
did.
did.
The
She
tank.
wrecked some tanks. Reminded me a
Yes.
lot of Yoda from
The first episode
the
of...
very first episode. Yeah,
Yep.
with the tanks. But Drew, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say something dumb. We're not gonna say it.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, good.
Okay, that's fine. So anyways, so they make it out of the compound, and then the town begins to be evacuated. That was the message that she sent with Miara to tell Zelda, the Togruta. And so the town begins to be evacuated, and Bail Organa and his ships come in. So he brings in 3 ships to evacuate the like 100 or so odd people that were still there. Some A-Wings come in, and which was kind of cool to see, they engage the TIE fighters and stuff that were in the air at that time. And they get everyone evacuated with a very small amount of casualties. I think it was like 14.
14,
Yeah, 14. So then Ahsoka smuggles her way onto the Tantive 3 this time
Mhm.
after the fact, and she talks to Bail Organa about joining the rebellion. And I thought it was really interesting because there was a inner monologue where Bail didn't know how much she knew about Anakin and Padme's relationship or how it ended. And obviously, like, he's been tasked with keeping Luke and Leia a secret, and he didn't
Yeah.
even tell her about them. He decided not to tell her about Obi-Wan, which was like huge. And
Because
then
she like in the book she's like forced out, like she reached out in the force to see if she can feel Obi-Wan.
yeah,
She
and she
can
can't.
feel Obi-Wan or Anakin.
Yeah, and she
which
can't.
is- yeah.
But it was interesting because there was one part where Bail was like, "Yeah, Leia has too much of her mother in her," and it was like it was a test.
Right.
It was a test to see if how much she knew, and
Right.
obviously,
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Ahsoka didn't know anything. But they talk about the rebellion, and Ahsoka decides, she's like, you know, I'm on this new path now that's kind of in the middle where, you know, I'm not sitting on the sidelines, but I'm not going to be a military leader anymore. Like, I'll still fight, but it can't be in the capacity that it was before. But what I'd like to do is basically set up a communications network and coordinate the people in your rebellion on missions. And that's essentially how she becomes Fulcrum. She chooses the name, and that's kind of the conversation that leads to that. And then we have one final, like, it's not really a flashback. It's just kind of an alternative scene where the Grand
Post-credit scene.
Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor is on Raeda, and he inspects what happened there, and he sets a course back to tell Darth Vader about it. So, and that's the end of the book.
And then, was there only ever one Grand Inquisitor? Are we assuming this is the same one from Rebels?
It's the same one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's the Grand Inquisitor at the time that Darth Vader gets the program, which is interesting because the Emperor intentionally pits the two of them against each other at one point, and they have a full-on lightsaber duel in the Jedi archives on Coruscant.
That's pretty cool.
So that Darth Vader comic is really worth reading. It's really 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 good. So
that's canon, right? That's a
yeah,
canon comic.
it's
Yep.
canon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the whole arc about him bleeding the crystal. Jocasta Nu makes an appearance, does some really really BA things. Yeah, it shows a lot of Vader's internal struggles right out of the gate.
So was the Grand Inquisitor
Yes.
was it post Order 66 when he was recruited into the Inquisitorius program, or did Palpatine already have him trained,
That's a
ready
good
to
question.
go behind the
Actually,
scenes? Because it just seems weird that like within a year he's the Grand Inquisitor, like he's the leader or the
That's
top
a good question.
Inquisitor.
yeah, I don't actually know. The only thing I know is he used to be a temple guard,
Right.
and he was very frustrated with the Jedi pre-Order 66. So I'm wondering if somehow Palpatine
Was training him.
not necessarily was training him, but he had him like singled out, because like obviously there are
Right.
other among the Inquisitorius program, there are other ex-Jedi that they weren't killed in Order 66. So either A, they didn't have clones, or B, somehow they were spared. They were not a part of the order like Ahsoka was, or
I want to know
whatever.
what happened to Barriss.
Yeah,
I really want her to show up
well,
again.
I feel like we're gonna find out at some point. She'll come back.
Yeah. I want to see her again. Live action.
Yeah. So that's
Barriss finds Hadala and trains her in the ways of the dark side, and then Ahsoka has to face both of them and save them both or something.
that would be very interesting. Yeah,
Heard it here first, folks.
I'd dig that. That'd be cool.
Fan fiction?
No.
Prediction. So that's the Ahsoka novel, everyone.
Yeah.
It's a good quick read, especially if you want to do it in 48 hours, like I did. So now it sucks because like I started reading the third Thrawn book, and I was starting to get into that, but now I have the third High Republic book, and I really want to read this one first now. So I know it might be a little blasphemous, but I might table Thrawn for a little bit while I read The Fallen Star.
Well, you could. Here's what I would say. You don't need to make any commitments or anything. But if you finish Thrawn first, that would delay your time to start the High Republic book, and then when Drew and I do a review next month sometime, you would be finishing the High Republic book around the same time, maybe.
Dude, I don't know if I can get Thrawn done that quickly though.
No, Thrawn is.
Thrawn is a
it's gonna be
boy.
It's gonna be like mid to end of February when we do our review.
I have
I'm
to
just saying.
buy the book.
I'm just saying. Just get it. Don't you always go to Barnes and Noble anyway for books?
I don't buy books there; it's too expensive.
But I'm just saying, if you want to delay reading the High Republic book and also join us sometime in February,
We'll see
for
what
book
happens.
Review,
Wait a second. Jerica said not to flex, but I read Ahsoka in 12 hours.
Oh, that's definitely a flex.
I will
That's
say,
flex.
if I had uninterrupted time to sit down and read the book in one sitting, I could have probably.
He didn't have to
done
wake up at 4 a.m. to feed his cat some medicine.
That's true.
He could have done that.
Because I read those the first 10 chapters in like, I think it was like 2 hours or something. I was burning through them. So, anyways,
All right, well, overall, like I said, it was okay of a book. I still enjoyed it. I really like to know what happened, like all these extra details of what happened to her. So I like that. But it would be nice if there was a sequel, Disney, a second Ahsoka part
but like
2.
a full adult novel.
You know what, Jeremiah? You should read Lost Star after this next.
No one cares about your Lost Star,
Bro, it's so.
I still
most people do care
listen,
about it.
Drew,
First of all,
I've thought about it. I thought about going back to it a few times, and I'm just like, I can't.
You can.
It's just not my type of
will.
story.
It's so good.
So, you know what else is so good?
Voicemails.
Oh yeah, the transition between here and
Hey,
voicemail
Jerica
time.
cares. Thank you.
All right, you guys ready? We're gonna transition over.
Will cares too. Thank you. It's voicemail time.
Yeah, it is. Thanks, Drew. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
All right, so we have five voicemails, six voicemails this evening. And first and foremost, we're going to cover the two that I didn't do last week. And my apologies to David because one of them was supposed to be for last week. But it's fine. We're here. We've made it. So let's listen to the first voicemail. This one's from Lucy.
Hi everyone, it's Lucy, and I just want to say that we're all going to miss Andrew so much, and I hope you do come back as a guest host sometime. You always have entertaining, inspirational, or interesting things to say about Star Wars and beyond. You collaborate really well with Drew and Jeremiah to bring us great content, and you've just contributed so much to Empire Radio. This podcast has really been a special part of my life that's helped me gain confidence and just further enjoy Star Wars knowing not many things have done. I will, of course, continue to support Empire Radio, Drew, and Jeremiah, and I look forward to a bright future. The Empire is strong, we are united through our passions, and the Force will be with us. On another bittersweet note, here is the last prompt for the three of you I send in. What are some of your favorite Empire Radio moments from the past 2 years? This can be anything from certain episodes to infamous comments. Once again, thank you for everything you've done and continue to do for fans everywhere. In the words of my and Jeremiah's favorite character, this is a new day, a new beginning. May the Force be with you.
I know, that was almost a tearjerker.
That was
Man.
incredibly well. Good Lord, Lucy, your voicemails are killer. I love your voicemails. Thank you so much for that. I'm very, very tired right now, so hopefully what I say during these makes sense. But thank you, seriously, thank you for that, for the kind words and for acknowledging my part in this, but also acknowledging the stuff that we've done together, because that's way more important than what I was able to bring by myself. And it's one of the things that we've heard a few different times, in that like we helped build a community for people, and that was something that like I think was very, like, it wasn't a part of our initial plan. It was just like, hey, let's do this podcast. Let's talk about Star Wars and like have fun doing it. And if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere, But like, I think that was the most positive surprise for me, was like starting the Discord and creating that community. That obviously is going to live on. So thank you for being willing to support these two guys too, because that's really all I want from all of you. And for me, I think some of my most positive memories were way back at the beginning, like when we were actually like meeting in person. Not that like doing it remotely, it hasn't been fun. It's been a blast, but like the A New Hope thing, like you can't script that stuff. Like that was one of my favorite moments of all time. Eating the candy, for sure. Like
the candy,
that freaking candy bowl, like got us through so many episodes of the podcast,
dude.
And
your cramp.
Oh, my freaking
the
cramp
was the best.
Gosh,
that's because no one listening ever knew that happened.
I was in so much pain, y'all.
But it was so funny because Drew and I sat across from each other, and then Andrew was to my right, Andrew's left on the table, side of the table. And so
I was at the end of the table. Yeah,
I don't even remember what you were doing. Like, I think you just like reached down to like touch your leg or something, or scratch your leg.
And my leg just cramped up.
And I just saw your face.
Locked up.
You were like in so much pain, and we're all reacting. And so Drew and I are trying to continue like.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I did my hand. I was like, go. Because I was like, okay, I'll ride the cramp out,
And so I don't even remember what episode it is, but it was definitely.
It was like one of the early ones.
It was definitely
was
like
so
first
funny.
3.
Because it was what?
Yeah.
The last week in January of 2020, and then because of COVID in mid-March is when we did remote.
Yeah.
And so it was somewhere in those first like 6 episodes that's when that happened. And I just remember the whole thing, like he was in so much pain and he made no sound to ruin the podcast. That was so
Yeah.
But it was so funny because he was like sitting there.
Well, you
and,
have
like,
to. I had
I
to
mean,
like straighten
if
my leg immediately, so I had to
you
like push
straightened
back.
it, and it was like almost kicking me.
Yeah, and I had to
And
like
he
push
was
back
just like
from the table.
rubbing his
Yeah.
leg, and I was like, "What the
my
heck
gosh.
is going on?"
Who's this guy we recruited? Like,
Yeah.
Just like rubbing his leg.
It
He's
was
like,
it was so rough.
It was funny as
Yeah.
heck.
I think
But
other
If
good
only
ones.
we were streaming then, though.
Oh, yeah.
There would be no way that you could hide your face. Like it was so intense.
Yeah, I think another really I think one of my other favorite things was like consistently going in for the memes after every episode.
oh yeah,
Especially
Come
dude.
on,
yeah.
Discord, you don't do that
Yo,
anymore.
No.
y'all slacking.
Every episode was so many memes that once we did the live stream,
Yeah.
like,
Like smooth the Broom Kid meme. Okay, the original Broom Kid
was
meme with your
like the-
face on the
like the-
Last Jedi
that
poster.
poster.
yeah,
I
that-
lost it.
No, I was gonna say that's one of my highlights because we were so impressed by Tanner, which he left already in the chat.
Oh.
But we were so impressed by Tanner's like, how did he do it so quickly?
He made it in
and like,
Snapchat.
yeah,
no, I thought he said he found like it mostly done. And he just added something to it.
yeah,
Oh, he added Drew's face.
yeah.
Added Drew's
But
face to like the
it
main.
was so fast, and we were dying laughing.
Yeah. All the
But-
Star Wars underwear ones were good. Because my wife threw me under the bus for that one. So
Oh, true. I still like the watermelon cantaloupe.
So I saw it's still saved on. I gotta like download it and like add some stuff to it. But I have this. Here's a little preview for future things. I have like, Empire Radio lost footage of like things that I
Ooh.
have,
Lost Archive.
something like that. So like someday you'll see the full watermelon
oh gosh.
debate that only people who were here for the post game show on
Yeah.
Twitch saw. So
There were quite a few like post game moments that only
Yeah.
the
That was
people
I'm pretty sure that was after game. Right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
post.
post
Yeah.
after.
but it was like the Jeremiah shoving muffins into his mouth. That was a post game thing. I mean, like that's
Yeah.
literally where like the chubby muffin in the Discord came from. Like it was that
True.
episode.
I still like when I did the can of whipped cream.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
still that's
I'm
literally
doing that. I'm doing this, and then like David takes it and like does like parental advisory like
yeah.
thing on it. But
I'm pretty sure, Jeremiah, I still have that on my phone.
yeah, perfect.
Oh
You
no,
could've-
it's in Canva. I still have it in Canva because I made it into an emoji for Discord.
Yeah, it's in our emoji for Discord.
Yeah, so
if
I
you
have that-
spend enough if
Because I was in
yours-
Canva the other day and I was like, oh, I still have that picture of Jeremiah in there. So
that's funny.
I spam it all the time in Discord, Jeremiah. It's
That's good.
pretty funny.
But one of my favorite ones was also all the times when we're doing our ranking and Drew doesn't have his list written down. And we have to like he tries to do it. And I'm like, oh gosh, write it down next time. So now
Yeah.
every time we do a top 5 or something, I was like, Drew, do you have your list?
Hey,
written
the
down?
last time, remember?
the last like
I was
two
like,
times you've
I
been
had
prepared.
mine,
Yeah.
and then Andrew's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't do mine yet." And I was like,
Yeah, I still put it together though.
"Okay,
it's fine."
well,
But yeah,
So yeah. Thanks, Lucy. That was good. That was a good trip down memory lane.
Yes.
We actually have another voicemail from her, but I'm gonna play the one from David first since I didn't play it last week, and he was like, "It was for this week," and I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry." So
Yeah, he's
David-
still kind of going at you.
it's fine. David, this one's for you.
Gentlemen, it's your boy David from the. Well, you get the rest. Listen, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I sent my last voicemail, but that's because I've been in the middle of a move and my studio's been like a disaster zone, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But before I say what I need to say, I wanted to give my condolences, to pour one out for the homie, if you will, and say, Andrew, I'm sad to see you go, buddy, but I'm super grateful for you and this amazing community you've helped create. I know this isn't goodbye, but I still wanted to wish you well. Now, I guess back to business. Hey, you! Yeah, you, listener. What gives, huh? Why haven't you joined the Discord yet? What's the matter with you? We ain't good enough for you? It's the second best Discord out there. No, you know. So why can't you just click on their
What's the
invite link?
best one?
Don't know how? Listen up. Andrew will probably tell you in a few minutes. Anyways, good luck, Andrew, and Godspeed, Empire Radio.
That was. I
That
think.
was kind of intense.
I think
That
that
was
was
good.
my favorite voicemail he's ever done.
Yeah, me too. Good job, David.
Yeah. Well, very well done. Yeah. Thank you for that, for those kind words as well, David, and for always making sure people join the Discord.
Yep.
And for providing so many great voicemails.
Yeah.
Because like for a while,
Stormtrooper poetry was a thing.
he carried voicemails for a
yeah.
little bit.
True.
And in fact, there were some weeks that David was the reason why we didn't break our streak.
Yeah, we're
I
still
would
on
say
our
more-
streak.
We're still on our
more
streak
than-
again.
More than. It's
So,
been almost a year. Won't
Yeah, but-
February be a year?
Yeah, it's
mid-February is when Lucy sent the first ever voicemail.
yeah.
Oh, shout out to you, Lucy.
Yep.
Yep.
She's
Join
gonna,
the
she's gonna
Discord
be
one
someday
day.
when we're so big and famous and we're a category on Jeopardy. One of the questions would be, this person sent the first voicemail to Empire Radio, and then that should be, who is Lucy?
Who's
There you
gonna
go.
run Jeopardy? Do you think
I have no
By
idea.
then,
a robot?
no. Who would we want to run Jeopardy at that point?
Right now, I know who I want to run.
Aaron
Jeopardy.
Rodgers.
What?
Drew, who would you want to run Jeopardy?
Wait.
No, didn't he do it? And he did like an amazing job. Like everyone was saying, like he should get the job when he retires from football.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know he did
that was the thing.
that.
Because they had the whole string of guest hosts.
I
they had,
was gonna say Denzel Washington.
No, I want dude, James Earl Jones. That would be dope.
That's not how.
Yeah, but
works.
he's getting up there.
He's
You want to have someone you can have like some good longevity out of too.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Levitt. Yeah.
Levitt.
I could see that.
Andrew
I want-
Garfield.
I would enjoy that.
Zac
That'd be cool.
Efron.
No,
Nope.
no,
Shutting
he's
that down real quick. Nope.
No. we're done with
Oh
that.
no, but isn't the guy from Reading Rainbow supposed to do it?
I think he has done it.
I think he's about to do it actually.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure,
all right.
and I think he should do it.
Well, speaking of Lucy being a part of Jeopardy, let's listen to our second voicemail from Lucy.
Okay.
That wasn't related at all, but you know what? We're here now. Let's do it.
Hi everyone, it's Lucy twice in 1 week. I've decided
Hey.
to share a little more about my Star Wars story and how I got here. I started off by watching the original and prequel trilogies, but they didn't make me love Star Wars, and I didn't until I found Ahsoka. She was
Oh.
that spark that opened my eyes because I related to her on so many levels, and I was inspired by her strength and optimism. I fell in love with her character, and that's how I found Empire Radio. I was searching for a Clone Wars podcast, I found the Clone Wars Saved, and thought,
Hey.
these guys get how powerful her story is. They get Star Wars. In my first voicemail, I asked you to do an episode about the Ahsoka novel, and now Andrew's last episode was about the Ahsoka novel. It's really come full circle now. I just thought I'd thank you on a more personal level for all the support you've given my messages. Having my voice heard like this is a really big deal for me, and I'm so grateful for this welcoming community. Thank you for being the podcast that gets it. May the Force be with you.
Dang, this girl.
Almost
Look-
made me cry twice.
Hey,
in
listen,
one episode.
listen. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Okay, this is for you two. Okay, Jeremiah,
Okay.
Drew. If at some point you get big enough and you don't hire her as a writer,
For real.
Dude.
you have failed me for the last time.
She's
Hey.
gonna write Ahsoka Part 2 someday.
Yeah. I had totally forgotten. I totally forgot about that. So that's really cool. That's really cool, Lucy. I'm glad.
yeah,
that we
I
could,
totally forgot about that. Dude.
I'm
That's
glad that we
dope.
could bring that full circle for you. That's really cool. Actually, wow. Yeah, we nerded out pretty hard on the Clone Wars Save podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have been ever since.
That's
but
still one of my favorite logo designs that we had. That was so dope.
yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one for sure.
Go check out Clone Wars Save.
Yeah, it's still up there. So is the Mandalorian.
True. On
Um,
any podcast streaming app, go check it out.
yeah, they're still up there. If you want to
Make
hear us
sure
talk about,
that you give us a good iTunes review. We would appreciate it.
yeah, good ones are very much appreciated.
Anyway.
Anyways, okay, so Lucy, thank you so much. If they don't hire you, find me somehow.
Joke's on you, Andrew. She's replacing you.
Oh. No.
I'm just
Honestly,
kidding.
though, it would probably be
kidding.
a better podcast.
I don't know about that.
She's so much better spoken, more well spoken. See, I can't even talk. She's just better than me when it comes to that stuff. So
Yeah, but we
But
definitely
Lucy-
can't talk. So
Yeah.
Lucy, let us know how your was it Star Wars Club or Nerd Club or whatever it was.
oh
you said?
yeah.
Let us know how that is. If you want to send us an email or
or another voicemail.
Voice
We'll
mail.
listen to it.
Anyways,
See exactly.
let us know.
Yes, let us know.
so all right, let's move on. We've got one from Will and one from Moff. Will I was. So let's listen to the first one from Will.
Hey, Empire Radio. I sit with you on this snowy day in mourning of Andrew leaving the podcast. I knew this day was coming, and what I have to say is thank you, Andrew, for everything you have done. And the entire podcast. Thank you for everything you guys
Yeah.
have done for me. Giving me a community to talk to within Discord. Join the Discord, by the way.
Yep.
I always need new people to bug. But yes, you guys have surrounded me with happiness, and you have given me the motivation to better myself. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
You're very welcome, Will.
Awesome.
It's actually kind of
awesome.
it's cool because like we've kept pretty consistent Instagram messaging back and forth since we connected. So
Cool.
yeah,
Doesn't he live by you?
yeah, it's like
Like-
we're
Did it
Like-
snow? Like I was confused. At the
yeah. You
beginning.
didn't know about that?
No.
Okay, so listen, this is how crazy the weather was here. Okay,
It's snowing right now in Minnesota.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
it's
can see it
Minnesota,
snowing.
so you pretty much get snow all the time.
Not
Uh,
really, but
It's either that or road construction. But hashtag I hated 35W.
Hey, it's done
So-
now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
move back to Minnesota.
come on back.
Yeah.
We'll take you.
but no, so Sunday it was in the mid upper 70s. Like I was outside sweating at certain points because it was so hot.
Weird flex, but okay.
But here's the thing. Sunday night into Monday, it stormed so badly. Like literally we've gotten hurricanes, like legitimate hurricanes that have done less than Sunday night.
Damn.
Dude, it was bad. It was so bad. Like the wind, there were multiple times that it woke me and Micaiah up. Like I woke up like 4 times Sunday night because of the wind hitting our windows and the rain was super hard and there was like really bad thunder and lightning. Like it was crazy. So we went from 70s and hot and clear to rain. Like, and it was funny because I went to Target Sunday night, walked in completely clear. I'm standing in the checkout line at self-checkout and the whole sky just drops out. I was completely unprepared. I had to walk to the car. I got soaked. So like we went from one climate almost to a completely different one. And then Monday morning, snow.
That's so. Do you guys get snow?
Not very often. And it was like, I mean, obviously the ground was too warm for it to
Well,
stick.
yeah, it didn't.
But like
stick,
as
but-
far as the rate at the snow was coming down was concerned, like it was way more than we normally get.
Mm.
So like I posted it it's not up there anymore, but I posted it on my stories. Because it was like super weird. It was like 70s and hot and then hurricane weather. And then all of a sudden yesterday morning, it was like snowing and super, super cold. And now it's been in the mid to upper 30s. Like, not to politicize this, but if you tell me climate change ain't real, I've got 24
God bless
hours. I've got a
America.
weird 24 hours to tell you about. Because I don't ever remember anything like that growing up here. But yeah, so Will got to see snow. And we live like 12 minutes away from each other. So yeah.
Cool.
Well,
Oh, it's also worth noting that he did send in a second voicemail because his name wasn't included in the first voicemail, but I definitely recognize his voice in the first one. So he just wanted to clarify, but he also mentioned that I had helped him through talking about my mental health stuff, give him confidence to like kind of tackle that as well. And so that really means a lot for me because of what I've gone through. And for anyone else that has been dealing with really tough mental health stuff, like if you need a sign, get help. There's nothing wrong with it. Figure out what resources are available to you and take advantage of those. Because it's okay to need help, and getting it is often one of the best decisions you'll ever make. So definitely go do that.
Do it.
Also, speaking of Will, you guys do it. That's funny.
If BetterHelp wants to sponsor us, we got you.
Dude, I've actually considered doing that, but I haven't taken the plunge yet. I'm doing Headspace. Headspace is really good. I got a subscription.
Things, actually.
I heard a subscription. I got a subscription from them for them. They have like an anxiety specific course that like definitely doesn't take the place of counseling, but if
you're surviving,
well, I'm more of the surviving now, but like if you have the background, if you have some training in like what anxiety is and what certain aspects of it are, like I think Headspace can be a great tool, like maybe post therapy, like once you've kind of gone through like an initial round of therapy to get a better handle on things, but then it's a great tool for like continuing what you learned in therapy. I definitely wouldn't recommend it for people that are like dealing with heavy mental health issues. Like definitely go to therapy, but like it's good. I like it a lot, and they have like songs and playlists on there that are for like focusing.
They have like
and
really good things for sleeping too.
Oh yeah, dude, I use it for sleep almost every night. It's amazing. They freaking tell you bedtime stories.
Yeah.
And
then
but
they end they end
Yeah.
in a certain time. Like they're like a story that loops.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really actually make sense, and then you'll fall asleep, and then it'll turn itself off.
Well, no, it makes sense, but they start with like a breathing exercise or like a wind down exercise, and it gets you prepped, and then they start telling you a story. But the way the cadence of the story is, it's almost like they're tricking you into falling asleep. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
I've still never gotten more than like 10 minutes into one without just knocking out. So it's good stuff. There's one called Cat Marina, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a marina, and there's a lot of cats, and you walk through and you meet all the cats, and I'm telling you, it's so peaceful.
It's like county sleep,
dude.
sheep,
Dude, it's amazing. There's one called Rainy Day Antiques, where like it's this guy that sounds like David Attenborough from from Planet Earth.
Yeah,
and he's like you're walking through this antique store, and it's raining, and it's super comfy and cozy.
Oh,
he's
Lord.
and he's
I'm
talking about
already falling asleep.
bro, it's
Stop.
amazing. So check that out.
Speaking of sleep, Jeremiah, you haven't updated us on your sleep.
Yeah, how's your sleep going?
Well, I always sleep better when it's cooler out.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But it hasn't been that great. It's been
Oh.
super dry. I've never had to deal with like needing a humidifier really, but
Yeah.
I bought 2 humidifiers because
It's
it was so dry. I was trying to sleep, and then like the first night I had both of them on high, and I woke up in the morning. I opened up my blinds, and it's just covered in condensation, ice on the bottom. I go into my living room where my balcony doors are, covered in condensation, ice on the bottom. I can't even open my thing because it's frozen. So I was like, okay, I can't have this on high 24/7.
But you're not sleeping in the living room half the night, are you?
No, I haven't slept on my recliner in a long time.
That's a good day right there.
Good progress.
Yeah, nice. I still don't sleep well because I end up waking up like constantly throughout the night, and I always have to pee like 3 times.
That's just being old. You're old.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Jeremiah, I have less than 4 hours from this very moment when I'm gonna have to wake up and get my cat medicine.
I had to feed my son at 3:00 in the morning.
Oof.
And at 7, and then at 7:30 I have to go to work. So I don't want to hear anything. Okay.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next voicemail from Moth Will I Was. He has a special message about the Discord.
Members of the fleet, I have gathered you all here today for a very sad matter about the chubby muffin. We are in dire need of recruits. As a muff, it is partially my duty to get recruits. So you, listener, join the Discord. Just do it. Right now. Go on. I'll wait. I'll wait.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I think we're waiting.
We're-
Oh, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's funny that we've had 2 voicemails tonight that have basically yelled at people to go join the Discord. So definitely go
Yeah.
join the Discord if you haven't already. We'll talk about
do
how
you
you
do
can do
that?
that. Huh?
Oh, what?
No, we'll talk about how they can do that. Hold on. We got one more voicemail.
Oh, I thought that was. Oh,
No, we have one from Jerica. Come on.
Jerica.
Yeah. And I think she's still here in the chat too.
She is. She just-
Sweet. All right. Let's listen.
Hey guys, it's Jerica. I just wanted to pop in, especially since it is Andrew's last night on the podcast, and just say how thankful I am for this community. I've said this multiple times, but you guys got me through an insane semester of college, and Tuesday nights were the highlight of every week, just doing my study session and listening to you guys. And I especially wanted to thank Andrew for being such a amazing figure in this community, and point out that he was the reason I really got into this podcast, because I was listening to some old episodes where he was going on about music, and that's kind of where I connected to this podcast. That being said, I wanted to ask one more music question before Andrew leaves, and that would be if there is one song from the entire saga that just makes you happy inside, what song is that? Thank you so much, and may the force be with you.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, before you answer that question,
What
are
is-
Drew and I just chop liver over here? We didn't-
Yes.
we weren't good
Yeah.
enough to make you like the podcast, or what's
Well,
the
you just got to
dealio?
talk about music more.
Well, I don't.
It's
think
so
we're
funny
gonna do
though.
that.
It's so funny though, because I know that there are musicians that listen to our podcast, and like, I'm always afraid when I go deep into music.
Because you're afraid you're about to get judged.
Yes, and because I feel like I'm afraid people are gonna like really see that like I know what I'm talking about, but also my theory knowledge is still relatively limited. So it's
Yeah.
like I know enough that I can be a functional musician. I know enough that I can like have music theory conversations and apply that to different aspects of the guitar. But like I also struggled through music theory in college. So
Well, I mean, I know your teacher. Everyone did, but
All right, here's a trivia question, music trivia question. What note is considered the devil's note?
I know what interval is considered the devil's interval. It's a tritone.
That's
But-
not the question.
I don't. What note?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's F sharp.
Oh, really?
Yes,
because
because when you play it with C, it clashes.
oh,
So back in the day,
yeah, because
I get it why. It doesn't matter what the intervals are. You could go up to 1/2 step each, and it's going to be the same thing. I get that. But back in the day, when a lot of when the church was in charge of mass production of music, you weren't allowed to do C and F together. Like it was, you'd be beheaded.
do you? That's actually kind of funny because F sharp to C is a tritone. So like, right? F sharp to C is a tritone.
I don't know.
It's a sharp 4, or excuse me,
I
it's a
don't
flat
know.
5. F sharp to C is a tritone, which
Sherka says yes, but I don't know if that's to
yeah,
you.
it's a tritone, which is funny because that brings it full circle to the fact that the tritone was the devil's interval.
Oh, so you were right the whole time.
Kind of in a
But
roundabout
specifically
way.
F sharp.
Oh well,
But,
I have nothing
yes.
against F sharp. F sharp's in a great place on the guitar. If you're playing in like F sharp minor.
True. Yeah.
So
How do you feel about F flat?
That's a little too flat.
I don't like that at all.
What? What don't you like?
It's E. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
It's also it's the same thing with B and C. It's like we're gonna play in C flat. That was one of the things that we like, especially in our jazz ensemble. They said just as a joke, but we were also all people who understood it, and we could laugh at it because we were all nerds.
Yeah, that's so
So-
nerdy.
Yeah.
But to answer Jeremiah's question from Jerica, she said, "No, you guys are all amazing, but Andrew helped me get into it."
All right. What?
Now she
I
hasn't
would
said
say-
that she's gonna stick around.
No. You come for Andrew. You stay for Drew and Jeremiah.
Yeah,
She hasn't said that yet.
me and my
so-
fake it till you make it approach to music is so funny. Like if you, it's so funny.
Oh,
like,
she said she's staying. Oh, whew. Good.
It's so
All
funny
right.
because like if you go listen to some of the like most of the guitar solos that I put in my covers, it's like strangely similar variations of like the same pentatonic licks and stuff. So, anyways, fake it till you
way
make
to
it.
out yourself to everyone.
I mean,
anyway, she
a
had
re-
a question for you.
sorry. So that makes me happy.
Well, didn't you kind of answer this when we went over our favorite?
Well,
song?
the Force theme, it does
you
make
happy.
me it does
It gets you.
it gets
Makes
you
you all riled
pumped
up.
up. Yeah. But I mean, it's definitely a positive emotion when I hear the Force theme, but it's more of like an inspirational thing. What would it
Canto
be?
Bite theme.
Oh God, nothing from the Last Jedi.
Oh, come on! Not all.
Thank you.
You can still enjoy the music from the Last Jedi.
I like
you have
Ray's.
to-
I like Ray's theme a lot.
Yep.
I like actually I do like the theme that was playing during like Kylo and Luke fighting.
the Battle of Crate.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Is that your last? That could be your last pun.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll see if he comes tomorrow or not.
He's not gonna come tomorrow.
Dude,
But anyway.
I'm probably gonna be asleep at like 4 p.m. tomorrow because of how little sleep I'm about to get. Yeah, I really like Ray's theme. I think the Cantina theme makes me happy because it's more of a meme. And I also played it as part of my senior recital. That was really fun.
Which you can watch that.
You can. It's still on my YouTube channel. It's like deep down, and there's like one of the first videos I ever posted.
Is
But
it
it's
on
there.
the same YouTube channel that you have your?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's all on there. You just have to
That
go in.
K-pop guitarist.
Yep. It's kind of the basket I'm putting my eggs in now with guitar. But yeah, I think the Cantina theme would be the one that makes me happy. The new Boba Fett, the Cantina from Boba Fett, that was I loved that.
I was gonna say you had to like that one.
Yeah,
I
it was
love
good.
That one too.
It was really good.
All right. That's
Is
it.
that it?
All right. Now the moment everyone's been waiting for. How are they connected?
Social media time. Links www.links 2 eyes LIINKS
Count them.
2 eyes .co Chalfa.
What?
Charlie. I was gonna say Charlie Omega, but for some reason I also wanted to say Alpha at the same time. So Charlie Omega
Chalfa.
CO Chalfa. That's a new word. Links.co/Empire Radio. You can type that into any browser, take you to a landing page, and you can connect with us there. There's a link for a voicemail. There's a link for the Discord. There's a link for all of our social media accounts. And if you don't want to type it in and you find yourself on Instagram, you can go to our Instagram bio. It's there. It's in the About Us section on Twitch. And where else? I covered it. For some reason, my brain wanted me to say something else. But
I think that's it.
that's
And
it.
don't forget, go check out needlesslynerdynetwork.com
Yep.
for all your nerdy
Needs.
needs.
There you go. Check it out. So,
Any final words, comments?
final words. Well, first of all, I'm gonna be back.
Ooh.
I don't know
Tomorrow.
when. Not tomorrow.
No.
I am gonna be back. So there will for sure be some things like who knows, maybe I'll come back and do like an EU with Andrew episode every once in a while, or
Yes.
Ooh.
Anytime you feel like doing one, just put together a
Yell at us.
presentation and message us, and we'll fit you in.
yeah, we'll fit you in.
Yeah,
That's
we
so
have a really
weird.
tight schedule,
so weird.
but we'll figure it out.
But yeah, I know.
Have your people contact our people.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely will be back at some point. Maybe for books, maybe for EU stuff.
I am going to tell you right now, I'm making an executive decision for your life.
Oh,
But you're coming back for Kenobi series every episode and Ahsoka series every episode.
that is a lot of episodes.
Ahsoka?
You're coming back for
But
both of those.
Kenobi for sure. Come on.
I might do Kenobi. We'll have to see. There's a lot going on. We're not pregnant, but there's still a lot going on.
Ahsoka
Yeah.
is still
Your
probably
cat's
like
still alive, so that's good.
2 years
That's
away.
true. Yeah. He's locked in the room with my wife right now, who's probably asleep or waiting for me to come in and go to bed. But yeah, so it's not goodbye forever. But definitely got to take some time for myself and do what's right for me and for my family. The other video that I posted pretty much says it all. But I wouldn't trade any of this for the world. Had I have to go back and do it all over again, still do it the same way. It's been a pleasure and an honor. So learned a lot too. I actually learned a lot of things doing this podcast, like editing. Like I'd never edited a podcast before. I actually thought this was going to get me a job at one point, and that didn't work out. But I was able to say in an interview that I had podcast production experience, which was really cool.
Podcast production.
Yeah.
Experience.
Well, you will always have that.
It is funny.
You want to put me down as a reference,
dude?
I
It's
will
actually
answer
funny that you
it.
say that because it's on my resume
That's what's up.
as
There you
but
go.
it's under like a creative experience section. So it's not like work experience, but it's like it's
Well,
also
you could say technically you have worked on 3 separate podcasts.
that's true.
podcast,
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, but I mean, like literally, the music for The Mandalorian was like the first time anybody had ever asked me, like commissioned me for music like that. So that was a really cool experience too. So
You're welcome.
thank you, Drew. But nah, this has been a pleasure. It's been a blast, and I will definitely be back at some point. Don't know when. And I'm not saying I don't know when, but we secretly have something planned. Like I legitimately don't know. But if I can make it work, I'm gonna make it work. So
Awesome.
just make sure you're in every single stream because we're not gonna tell you ahead of time.
Ooh.
It's just gonna happen, and then you're gonna be
Joke's
like,
on
"Holy
y'all.
crap!" The one time I decided to play RuneScape with my bros, instead of doing the stream, Andrew was back and I missed it. So don't be that person.
Go to twitch.tv/Empire Radio for live streams.
Yeah. But the podcast is in great hands, and I know Drew and Jeremiah are planning some special things, and I'm fully confident in their ability to do this. And if any of you quit listening after this episode, I'm going to send an Inquisitor after you.
Ooh. Is that the 6th brother?
Not the 6th brother. Because they know how to beat him now.
That's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, that's not going to do anything. But maybe the Grand Inquisitor. It's way more of a challenge. So keep listening. Keep sending in voicemails. It would be amazing to be able to hear that at the end of 2022 or every time I come back,
The streak is still going.
the streak is still going.
Oh, the streak better still go.
Don't let me down.
Don't let. Oh, I don't
Andrew,
get
you know,
copyright.
you can send in some voicemails too.
Oh, I could. Yeah, actually,
Oh.
I might I legit hadn't even thought about doing that until you said it, because I'm so used to like getting the voicemails. You know,
Yeah.
that's actually a really good idea.
You might, if tomorrow's episode's a little, you might need to send a voicemail to help me
Well,
out.
we're not gonna be doing voicemails for tomorrow night,
Oh, true.
just because it's only a day. But moving forward, we'll be doing them on the Boba Fett episodes.
As
That's
well, yeah.
when we'll be doing episodes. So
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be great.
yeah.
Anything else?
Well, we wish you the best,
True.
and we appreciate you. So
Yes.
Of course.
thank you for the past 2 years. It's been good for
Dang,
us.
it's been 2 years.
Almost.
It's almost been 2 years, man.
Just a few weeks short.
Yeah. Nah, it was a pleasure, y'all. So
I have some candy whenever you want to come back to Minnesota.
just fly up for some candy.
Hey.
As long as it's in an orange Halloween bowl.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that thing's broken.
It was already broken when we were using it, dude.
Sure. Yes, it was.
It was cracked. It was definitely cracked, but all right.
All right.
Well, everyone, you have been listening to another Wizard episode of the Empire Radio Podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.